The Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk.
All right, let's get going here. Although it's just weird, Sue, isn't it? It's a Friday and we are not on the road. We're in the studio, so we have to get used to that feeling again, which is not the best feeling because the studio doesn't smell the same.
Where's my fish?
I know, exactly. But that's okay. We had a great fish fry season. We once again thank Apache Village RV for making all that possible, and I'm pretty sure we're going to do it again next year. We are here on a Friday. That means a Reardon Roundtable. Fred and Ethan are hanging out certainly for everything in the next hour. We'll do some fun Sue's News on a Friday. Paul Hall will have some entertainment recommendations, some sports stuff with Cusumano. The Cardinals already lost today, unfortunately. They were in Detroit. Actor and author Andrew McCarthy in the 5 o'clock hour. My friend Neil Salsich from the Mighty Pines, which is one of the best St. Louis bands ever, will be here in the 5 o'clock hour. Right now, introducing our roundtable panel. We have former St. Louis County Police Chief and my former County Councilman Tim Fitch is here this afternoon. Hello, Chief. How are you?
Good afternoon.
Jeff Rainford with Rainford and Associates. I almost feel like we can't even say former Chief of Staff to Mayor Slade because that was like 20 years ago at this point, right?
Exactly.
When was it? What was that last year?
Last year I was there was 2015, and the last year he was there would have been 2017.
So that's pretty crazy since it was that long ago, right?
It is. It's been a long time, yeah. I've enjoyed every second since I left the mayor's office. People ask me, like, would you ever go back? Well, at that age, I would. Would I ever go back now? No.
But, I mean, you're just talking, like, the level of stress had to be
it's off the charts.
Incredible, right?
Yeah, it was, like, inconstant.
All right, well, is that my phone or?
No, that's mine.
Okay, all right.
Sorry.
It certainly could have been mine because I do that all the time. Well, let's kind of talk about, this is certainly going to be relatable. I said yesterday when we're going to discuss this topic, it's going to be like, Groundhog Day because we talk about something related to downtown and to crime all the time. But by now, I'm guessing, Jeff or Chief, have you heard the comments that Gary Cohen and Todd Zeal made on the broadcast the other day? Okay, so let me play it for the people who haven't heard it.
The only thing missing from that picture, as is often missing from every picture we show of downtown St. Louis, no people.
No people. Well, they wanted to look picturesque. You can see a car driving by on the right. That's the only sign of life.
But there's never anybody walking around in downtown St. Louis.
It's not very often, you're right.
It's like, remember the old neutron bomb that wouldn't knock down buildings but just would eliminate all the people? It's like one of those hit St. Louis.
I guess it's just a photo op. People then run and hide, so they're not in the photo.
Now, this is not exactly new, Jeff, because I actually mentioned, I saw Bill Burr, the comedian at the Fox, probably maybe even 8 to 10 years ago, and he opened the show by saying, St. Louis! And he's like, what do you film The Walking Dead here? He talked about that was nobody out on the streets. Some people took offense to that, feeling like the broadcasters were a little unfair. I think they were calling it the way they saw it, but your thoughts on that?
Well, first of all, if you were to say that my dog is ugly, I would get very angry. But I would certainly say, I could say my dog is ugly, right? So I understand why boosters or even some people get their dander up when they hear things like that. But the fact of the matter is, I don't think he was being anything. The broadcasters, Todd Zeal used to play here. I don't think they were being anything other than honest. And I think that it is true. And listen, I understand the role of boosters, and I also understand the role of people who don't want outsiders to say how bad we are. Only we can say how bad we are. But I do think both as a city and as a downtown and as a region, we have to face up to the reality because we are way past, I think, the time when little small measures would have mattered either downtown for the city or the region. And we have to do big things. And if we continue to say the emperor has no clothes, or the emperor has beautiful clothes on, rather than the truth of the matter, I don't think we're going to be able to do the really, really hard, difficult things it's now going to take to both bring downtown back, bring the city back, and I think save the region.
Chief Fitz.
Well, I would tell you that I spent a lot of time in New York, and the next time the Cardinals are there and the announcers are talking about New York, they need to take a walk through the Bronx. Because it looks like a nuclear bomb went off in the Bronx.
Not just a neutron, huh?
Not a neutron, but a nuclear bomb went off. So I don't think they have a whole lot of room to talk.
That's fair.
And clearly they weren't here during March Madness. Did you see the number of people that were downtown during March Madness? It was really rather amazing.
Yeah, they were a lot. And Mark Cox brought something up this morning. When they were talking about that was a rain delay. So there wasn't a lot going on, or people weren't going to be wandering around in the rain downtown. Anyway,
I don't think
just
that's.
a
By the way,
side
I don't
note.
think that's true because they actually called. The video that I saw was actually during the game, so there was a rain delay. But I think when they made those comments, the game was actually going on, according to the video clip that I had sent Ethan. But regardless, it doesn't matter. The fact for me, what matters is they were calling it the way they saw it, and just the day before
And
this.
the way, unfortunately, I think that it is.
Yeah, well, that's exactly right, because literally 24 hours before that, I came on here and bitched about the traffic lights downtown in this sense. I was at Busch Stadium. I came back from the media luncheon that they had. I sat through 3 lights where nobody pulled in front of me or past me at all. So I made the case that you don't even need traffic lights downtown that aren't flashing because we literally don't have enough people on many days to support that. So I don't know how you turn this around. You know, we talked about this guy, Jordan Duker, who wrote this piece that was in, I forgot where it ended up being. Rainford, we talked to you about that. Remember the guy that wrote the piece
you
about
did.
the
It was
city?
like
It was
some
in the
strange deal.
Manhattan Institute or City Journal or something like that. But he was relatively, and he's written about the city before, he was relatively as optimistic as he could be if there were things that were going to be changed. But when you
If
talk about
big
big,
things,
bold, okay,
like
what's a
big,
big, bold
things.
thing that can happen?
Well, what we need is we need more residential downtown, and until it's safer, it's not going to happen. Bottom line.
Yeah, I think since COVID, some businesses, they are going back to the office and that, but I don't think it's ever commercial. Commercials stinking in places like Denver. And Denver, you can't go anywhere because there's so much traffic. You can't get into restaurants because there's so many people. But there are parts of their downtown, parts of downtown that depended on office buildings that in downtown Denver are really, really bad. So I agree with the chief. I think it's going to have to be residential, and the approach to crime has to be a little different. The problem in downtown is not the same as the problem in North St. Louis. It really isn't violence. It's really the kind of quality of life things that are just as bad. I mean, most people are not going to get robbed, and most people aren't going to get shot downtown, but they will get aggressively panhandled. They will see drug deals. They'll see needles on the ground.
I agree with all that, yeah.
They'll feel really uncomfortable. And so those are I call them quality of life crimes. I think, to the chief's point, I think it's going to have to be more than that, but I think we're going to have to start with the quality of life crimes. And that's where everybody says, well, that's not my problem. The police department says, well, violent crime is our problem.
Right.
And the mayor's office says, well, the police department has all the money and blah, blah, blah. Well, somebody's got to say it's my problem and we're going to fix it. I would just start with, for about 6 weekends in a row, I would put up checkpoints, use the highway patrol, and don't allow any drugs, any guns, anything to go in or out of downtown, and just crush it all. And then,
Well,
and then
Mark,
go
you
from
and I
there.
talked about
That'd be
that
awesome.
on the air, if you remember, and I said the city police need to ask for help. They don't have the staffing themselves. Ask for help. The following weekend, they had the county police downtown, but it was during the March Madness.
Okay.
They had the highway patrol here. They need to make that a regular request until they can replenish their staffing.
Yes.
And I don't know of any police department that's going to say, no, we're not going to come and help you with this.
Well, so how does that work? What's the process for bringing in help along those lines? Because obviously there's money that's being spent,
no different
right?
than it was. The chief or someone on his staff in the city probably called the highway patrol and said, we need help. Called the county police, said we need help, and they both sent help.
Okay.
We do it during Mardi Gras.
Right, right.
We always send county police people to Soulard during Mardi Gras. You know what? You just need to do that on a regular basis. And I get it. You don't want to deplete others' resources. But once you send the message that we're here, hopefully it'll knock that down. And remember, they arrested all those people for curfew violations that first weekend.
Oh, yeah.
The next weekend, they had 0
Right.
arrests. It works.
Well, I sent the message out, yeah.
That police presence works.
Yeah, I think that there's an opportunity here with the chief's talking about with the state and maybe also with the munis, but certainly with the state, because with state control, the governor now really owns crime in the city of St. Louis. And so, the highway patrol works for the governor. He could certainly do it. And then we have Catherine Hanaway, who is an attorney general from St. Louis, from the St. Louis metropolitan area. She gets our issues. And I think she hired Jane Duker in part. One of the things she's going to be about is crime. So I think we've got some stars aligned where, the state potentially would have a reason to come in and help, not just on Final Four, not just on, major events, but maybe on a regular basis.
Yeah, because look, there's when that happens, you have fewer problems and people feel safer. I think that the presence is there. I've been calling for that for a long time. One thing I'll give the mayor credit for, and I think you guys, we just witnessed this on a regular basis. This was Homeless Central, where we're sitting right now, an open-air drug market central, and that has not happened since Kara Spencer was mayor. They've tried to move around a couple of times in the parks, but they have been cleared out. I'm not sure where, but I do know that this area, and of course it was worse a few years ago down at City Hall in the Courts building when that was all fenced off, and there was the real encampment that Tashara was allowing. But I want to root for these things to go well. I hope that there's a big development down there where the the hotel was, and we can develop part of the riverfront in that area near Busch Stadium, because it would be great for the city. And I'd like to think that in 28, 29, when we win another World Series, it might be a little longer than that, Rainford, that we can have a thriving downtown, right?
The chief will remember this. There was a time when Clarence Harmon was the mayor and Buzz Westfall was the county executive, where Buzz suggested a tax increase out in St. Louis County for downtown. We need downtown to be a regional thing. It can't just be Mayor Spencer, and
Yes.
she needs the cavalry to arrive. And it is a regional. It is hurting the region when Gary Cohn and Todd Zeal go on the television and say downtown is a ghost. Downtown St. Louis is a ghost town.
Right.
No doubt.
And that it's just, look, we get this publicity. Unfortunately, it's not very positive publicity. We hope we can move past some of this, and I think that the NCAA weekend is a good example, because I was worried about that weekend. I really was, because you just get nervous because we've had incidents. If you go back to Janae Edmondson in the volleyball tournament and losing her legs, you just hope that people aren't going to go away with a bad impression of the city. What was it, Sue? We also had the people that were shot. Well, the bullets went through the hotel across from the soccer stadium. They were in town for a concert or something like that.
I remember that.
So those are the types of stories that get publicity.
I do think once that happens, once you have that sweep, and I don't think cleaning up downtown crime-wise should take forever. I would think you could get it done in 2 months. You are going to have some investments downtown. There's some legislation working through the legislature. Mm-hmm. I don't remember what it's called, the Downtown Community Act. You're going to have to bring capital back into downtown. Capital wants to be able to make money, so they're going to have to put it in that situation. I also think, this is going to be a bad word, but I think places like St. Louis, which are struggling with, the chief said, to pay for things, I think you have to look differently at things like data centers and the like, and you can't just look at them as a data center and, it's going to use water and electricity, but you also have to look at maybe that's a way, if you had 1 or 2 new data centers somewhere near downtown, to generate revenue to pay for some of this stuff on an ongoing, realistic basis.
And those types of discussions are taking place, though, aren't they? I mean, there's some stuff that's been in the news, even with the Board of Aldermen.
So far it's been a lot
centers.
on the data center, a lot of not in my backyard.
Yeah.
But that's where we need regional leadership to say, yes, sometimes maybe that St. Charles one that was appropriate, don't build it there. I don't know. But in other instances where you have impoverished communities like St. Louis, which has issues other than just downtown with its finances, tornado recovery being one, I think you have to look at all of these issues holistically on how are you going to turn your city and your region around, rather than you look at each of them as an individual thing in isolation.
I agree, but I just don't know if we have the leadership that can see that full picture right now.
I think you have to promise people on these data centers your electric rates are not going to increase, and it's not going to affect your water. Until you cross those 2 thresholds, I don't think you're going to convince people.
And guess what? The city of St. Louis has an abundance of water. They have water department built for 1 million people, and they have 250,000 people. They have a gazillion gallons of water, and they need customers. And then I won't go into details here, but we have this downtown steam loop, which could provide energy without people's bills.
So
going up.
you and I, we were out to dinner a while ago, and you were talking about this, and I was unfamiliar with the steam loop. Can you explain it a little bit?
Yeah, so the city of St. Louis owns these underground pipes, and there's a private company down on the riverfront that uses, I believe, natural gas. I'm not a total expert.
Okay.
And they create steam, and they push the steam through the pipes. And if you're a building in downtown and you're on one of the pipes, that's how you heat your building. It goes up and radiates in your building. They're now building one for air conditioning. They call it chilled water. It's going to be not too far from here, a little over on the other side of the ballpark. And they're going to do the same thing. They're going to push through pipes. These pipes in the summertime, chilled water. They, for reasons that are complicated and not worth talking about here, they are independent. They have nothing to do with how much people, like I live in the city, they have nothing to do with my electric bill. They buy their own natural gas. They produce their own power, their own kilowattage. And so it could be, I believe, I've looked at it, and I don't have a client in this, but I've looked at it, and I think that this could be a part of the solution to downtown to be able to generate revenue for downtown in a way where the city's got more needs to get rid of this water, needs to sell this water, so that part is easy. And then downtown, in essence, generates its own heating and cooling.
Well, I think there's going to be something like that has to happen, I think, big and innovative. All right, that's Jeff Rainford. Chief Tim Fitch is here. We're coming back. It's the Reardon Roundtable on a Friday.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Not bad on the roads right now. A little bit of moderate volume westbound 64. This is approaching Hampton out through McCausland. Eastbound slowing at Big Bend and at 270. We've got westbound Manchester jammed as you head for 141. That is not a surprise. We had really light traffic this morning, so it'll be interesting to see what happens this afternoon. 70 looks great, just a little slow at Wentzville. And southbound 55, moderate volume headed down toward Bates. To the south of there, we're in pretty good shape. No delays on the Poplar Street Bridge, but eastbound 70 is slow at 64 on the Illinois side. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
It's time for a $98 AC tune-up.
Honey, I found the one.
Oh, I thought I was the one.
Oh, you are, but this one's certified, background check, shows up on time, and can install all the ceiling fans.
Heating, cooling, electrical, and plumbing. Trusted pros who do it right.
We are quickly approaching the one-year anniversary of that devastating tornado, and I know at least one member of the Roundtable panel didn't have power for like a week, and I want to talk about Generator Supercenter of St. Louis because you can get a free estimate on a Generac home standby generator from Generator Supercenter right now, and these are high-quality generators. They kick in with propane or natural gas as soon as your power goes out. One of the lessons that people should know is like you have to maintain these. It's like an HVAC system, your car. You have to have certified maintenance, and they can offer you that at Generator Supercenter of St. Louis. It gives you extra peace of mind. If you're out of town, you don't have to worry about anything. You don't have to wait on hold with the power line. It really is a smart thing to do, and you don't want to be that person that says, man, I wish I would have called for a Generac generator when the power grid fails, because we know we have old infrastructure there. So don't wait for the next storm or outage. Call Generator Supercenter for a free estimate on a Generac home standby generator. They do have low monthly payments and financing available. 314-499-2020. Generator Supercenter of St. Louis.com.
According to MasterCard, nearly half of small businesses have been a victim of a cyber attack. As cybercrime escalates, ThrottleNet is calling on businesses to strengthen their security posture by taking a free online IT security audit right from your desk. This 3-minute online assessment provides an immediate score to see security gaps and vulnerabilities in your network. For 26 years, ThrottleNet has supported your business IT everything right here in St. Louis. In fact, no client of ThrottleNet has ever paid a ransom. So visit throttlenet.com/971 to take the free assessment today.
Why do the national tax resolution firms need the tiny fine print at the bottom of all their TV ads? Hi, this is Lance Story with the Lance Story Law Firm. You don't hear fast-talking disclaimers in our ads because the claims we make are 100% transparent. The Lance Story Law Firm primarily focuses on one thing, IRS problems, and we're regulated by the Bar Association, and we have a AAA rating with the Better Business Bureau. IRS issues are serious legal issues. The Lance Story Law Firm has helped thousands of clients navigate the best resolution plans, and we tell you up front exactly how much it'll cost. Tax resolution law is all we do. So before you send money to some out-of-town, high-pressure salesperson, give us a call at the Lance Story Law Firm, located right here in St. Louis. Call today to schedule your free consultation with me, 314-260-6120, or visit lance.drurylaw.com.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements.
When your car is making a strange noise, no matter what it is, you can't just pretend it's not happening.
That's an interesting sound.
It's like your mental health. If you're struggling and feeling overwhelmed, it's important to do something about it. It can be as simple as talking to someone or just taking a deep, calming breath to ground yourself. Because once you start to address the problem, you can go so much further. The Huntsman Mental Health Institute and the Ad Council have resources available for you at loveyourmindtoday.org.
Mark Reardon, Sue Thomas. This is the Mark Reardon Show.
The Reardon Roundtable, we're in the studio. No more Fish Fry Fridays. We have on the panel Jeff Rainford and Tim Fitch this afternoon. The president still making a case for the war in Iran. Wednesday night, of course, he went on national television.
I'm pleased to say that these core strategic objectives are nearing completion. I've made clear from the beginning of Operation Epic Fury that we will continue until our objectives are fully achieved. Thanks to the progress we've made, I can say tonight that we are on track to complete all of America's military objectives shortly, very shortly. We're going to hit them extremely hard over the next 2 to 3 weeks. We're going to bring them back to the Stone Ages where they belong.
Okay, so the big story today is that there was a pilot that was shot down, and there is still a search for the missing pilot in Iran. There's concern that that person will become a political prisoner. Jeff Rainford and Tim Fitch on my panel this afternoon. Tim, I'll start with you on just your feeling about how all this is going right now.
Well, I'm going to the Middle East for some security consulting business in about a week and a half.
Great planning on your part.
Right.
Yeah,
But,
good job.
that's where it's going on. I need to go. So I will tell you this: they're making a big deal about the U.S. jet being shot down. We've done over 8,000 sorties over Iran since this started. 8,000, and they got lucky once. But the top news story on CNN earlier today was, well, Trump said we have air superiority. He didn't say that there was no way this would ever happen. So, he's going to explain it in the best light. No doubt about that. Every politician does. Not a surprise there. But the thoughts that we've had that many sorties over there, we've lost, they got lucky with one plane. But when, they put out these threats constantly, we're going to target U.S. technology, educational, manufacturing, whatever it might be. And that's psychological warfare that they do. And when you're, giving advice to companies, what should you do when these threats come out is you have to be right 100% of the time. They only have to be lucky once. So that's psychological warfare. That's what they're very good at. They've always been very good at that, and they continue to put out these threats daily, multiple times a day. So you've got all these U.S. companies operating over there right now and really just kind of in a holding pattern trying to see what this is going to look like at the end. But I would tell you now that we're 6 weeks into it, there's a new normal there. I don't know if it'll ever return to what it was on February 27th, at least not for years.
Jeff. Well, hang on a second. I pressed the wrong mic. There we go.
Yeah, I thought from the beginning that this is the right war being fought by the wrong administration. I think that Iran gets everything it deserves and then some. I am a Zionist, so I think that this is good for Israel. Might not be great for the United States, but I do think it's good for Israel. However, what has bothered me from the beginning is I don't think the president thought through when he went into this how he was going to get out of it. What he keeps saying his objectives, they keep changing, and I know they could not possibly have been surprised by this thing with the Strait of Hormuz and how it was going to affect oil prices. But if you knew and were planning for this operation, and you knew you were going to ask NATO and the European allies to help with the Strait of Hormuz, why would you lead up to that by threatening to take away Greenland and issuing tariffs and all that other stuff? There's no rhyme to reason to any of this. And so as far as the casualties go, that happens in war. And I feel bad for the families, and I feel bad for the servicemen and women who are putting themselves in harm's way. But that's what happens in war, right? And then when, that's the price that you pay. So I am worried that he will not finish the job, that they will still have nuclear capability. They still will be able to play with the Strait of Hormuz and be able to play with the price of oil. I think that this is, and especially with the president threatening to get out of NATO, I mean, we're trying to force our allies to cozy up to the Chinese and to others. So, I mean, it's a lot of chaos. Good has come out of it, and I'd be the first to say, but I'm very worried that this administration didn't know going in how it was going to end the thing, and I don't know if they know how they're going to end it today.
I'm not sure they do either. I mean, there's a lot of aspects to this. Obviously, there's the military aspect in bringing this regime down to its knees, which I support. But look, I just like to speak pretty plainly, and I know that this kind of comment really plays more with people who aren't, listening to conservative radio necessarily dialed into this or fans of the president. But I drive by several gas stations every day, and not just to minimize this to the price of gas, but people are going to start getting really pissed off. And
look at the diesel. That's the real.
We're almost at $4 here, and they're over $5 in parts of the West and stuff like that. So if that's temporary, that's one thing. But you're going to have a lot of people that are going to be driving by gas stations wondering how much gas they can put in their vehicles. They still can't afford groceries. And if this thing starts to drag on more and more, look, 4 to 6 weeks, that was the window. We're still within that window at this point. I think we're at 5 weeks, Chief, at this point.
Right.
So things can turn around, but I don't know if they've made the case to how they're going to wrap this up, because we don't know what regime might take over. And if we can get there and get it organically to start, that's the, I guess the hope, but I think that's really, really a long shot.
Well, keep in mind that oil is priced on the, it's a worldwide market, how it's priced. That's why it's affecting us here. You heard Trump say we don't need the oil coming through the Strait of Hormuz for
for
US.
us, right?
Saudi Arabia has other options. They don't have to go through the Strait. They have pipelines that go across the country and come out at the Red Sea. It can't handle the volume that the tankers can, but they do have those options. So it'll be interesting to see how that happens. Those haven't been attacked yet, those pipelines that come out at the Red Sea from Saudi Arabia. So it really depends. I think what you heard Trump say is we're going to leave it up to the countries that need the oil to make the Strait safe for themselves. So, they're talking about basically tolls. Iran will set tolls for ships to be able to allow to come through. And you're going to see some countries that'll be more than willing to do that. And then you're going to have countries like China. It's like, no, we're China. You need to let us have our oil.
Right. Tim Fitch, Jeff Rainford on the panel. Jeff, on the political aspects of this, because those are significant in a midterm election and with a vice president that certainly has made even a stronger case to not get involved in foreign wars. There's a lot of tricky stuff here. Look, I think you can give Trump credit for being courageous because politically this wasn't a winner from probably go. But, if you can achieve what the goals are, look, if you get out of this and you don't destroy the nuclear capability, which we thought we had destroyed last year, and apparently finding this enriched uranium is not going to be easy at all, then that's a failure. That's you can't declare victory at all, right?
Correct, but you always have to be open to, as a Democrat, you got to be open to the possibility that events will go against you. So it's not impossible, doesn't seem likely, but it's not impossible that he will defang Iran. The Strait of Hormuz will reopen. Gas will go down to previous prices, and by November, people will have forgotten it. Now, it's hard to bet on that when the president, every time he talks, he has a new goal or new way of describing victory. So, we don't know that when he leaves that Iran won't continue to, be able to manipulate or have a thumb on oil prices. And if that happens, Democrats have a way of blowing these things, but the way that it's been working lately for probably the last 10 years is the voters don't like the Republicans and they don't like the Democrats, and whoever's in control, they're the ones who get voted
punished,
out.
Right, yeah.
So this time they're in control, and I think that this doesn't help, and I think this is going to be a bad year for Republicans. But whenever we're back in control, we'll blow it, and then they'll vote us out.
At least he's honest about that, and that really is. That is the cycle. That is the way it goes. Hang on, we're coming back with more. It's the Reardon Roundtable on a Friday.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Well, we're at the start of a holiday weekend, and it's not bad right now. In fact, we had light traffic this morning. So westbound 70 is not that busy. Just a little slow at 141 and out in Wentzville. But if people have waited through the day to head out of town, it could change. Right now, we're slow westbound 64 from Hampton out through Handley. We've got eastbound slowing at Big Bend and westbound starting to line up. Highway N out through the 70 split. 55 is in good shape southbound. Some volume on the Illinois side. Eastbound 70 at 64 and eastbound 64 east of 157, all due to road work. I'm Sue Thomas with traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
I'm Ultima Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. Every time one of my children started driving, it was terrifying. I am quite aware of the dangers being on the road. Thousands of accidents happen across the country. We see it every day. These families' lives will be changed in an instant. We fight for these families as if they were our own. We've become America's largest injury law firm by winning cases just like these. If you've been injured in a car accident, call us.
Injured? Dial Pound Law or visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
Game day comfort steps up to the plate Saturday, April 11th, when the Cardinals face the Boston Red Sox downtown. That night, fans can score a Cardinals dugout hoodie presented by Mercy, built for cool nights, late innings, and early season baseball. It's a classic, easy-to-wear layer you'll reach for all year long. Available in medium or extra large while supplies last. Don't miss this spring matchup. Get tickets and details at cardinals.com/promotions.
Every Sunday home game is a Kids Sunday at Busch Stadium. From Team Fred Birding games to a kid-friendly DJ, ice cream, and family-favorite activities. Sundays are built for young fans. Plus, select Sundays feature kids run the bases after the game. It's a day made for smiles, memories, and Cardinals baseball together. Make Sundays your family tradition at Busch Stadium. Tickets and details at cardinals.com/KidsSunday.
Did you know replacing old vinyl windows windows with more vinyl windows might not be the best choice. Hi, it's Kim, and I'm here to tell you about Infinity from Marvin Windows, because these fiberglass windows, they're energy efficient, they're beautiful, and they're custom built to fit your home perfectly. The team at Lakeside Renovation and Design just makes the process so easy. I love the fact that they even offer a lifetime workmanship warranty. Look, if you're tired of drafts, high energy bills, or maybe hard to open windows, now is the time to upgrade. Visit windowsbylakeside.com to schedule your free consultation today.
It's time for a $98 AC tune-up.
This portion of the show is sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating, Air Conditioning, Electrical, and Plumbing.
From Festus to Freeburg, 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Friday afternoon, we have Sue's News for Friday. Paul Hall in entertainment and Frank Cusumano in the next hour. At 5 o'clock, actor, director, and best-selling author Andrew McCarthy will be here. He's written a really interesting book called Who Needs Friends, and he's at the Keating Center for Performing Arts at Kirkwood High School tonight. The Novel Neighbor Bookshop is sponsoring that. If you go to thenovelneighbor.com, you can find tickets for the event tonight. It starts at 7 o'clock, and again, Andrew will be here a little after 5 o'clock as he is visiting St. Louis for this fascinating book. Back to the Roundtable, Jeff Rainford and Chief Fitch. Let's talk a little bit more about some of the politics of the day. Here's some new polling numbers for Democrats.
Congress isn't doing so great. In fact, Democrats aren't doing so great. So there's a new poll out. Congressional approval is down to 30%. You talk to a lot of folks, they are sick of it not being functional, and they're sick of the finger pointing. They think it's all a mess.
So, you can talk about Trump and the issues that he may have politically, which are real, but the Democrats aren't in much better shape, Chief, is I think what we heard in that polling, right?
They're definitely getting the blame for the TSA mess.
Well, yeah, I wonder about that. Now, that's starting to settle down a little bit. It looks like they've come
Only
to
because
some
Trump
agreement.
paid him. I mean,
well,
people have a short
he got the
attention
money to
span.
pay for him.
That one will be long gone by November.
What, the DHS stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, but, I mean, what the hell happened here? And by the way, it looks like, Chuck Schumer says that the Republicans caved. It kind of does look like the Republicans caved, doesn't it?
Not to me. I mean, basically, they wanted the airports to get back to normal, and so they found a way to pay the TSA agents. It went with 2 paychecks without, and I think that's a win for the Republicans. I don't see that as a liability as far as caving.
The reason I think that Schumer says that and that there's a temptation of me to agree with it because this thing goes on for weeks and weeks, and I don't think anything really changed in those weeks as far as the terms of the arrangement and what people were asking for. I mean, the Democrats didn't get everything, but they certainly cut out, Border Patrol and ICE funding from that particular bill. So why do that in the end if that's what you were fighting against? I was just confused by that. I don't know. Obviously, maybe they saw the political risk here as well.
Yeah, it's hard to imagine. I fly, and I don't like standing in long lines, but it's hard to see how that's going to trump the other bigger issues like oil prices, general inflation, interest rates, maybe a little immigration, other things. I mean, yeah, it was a major irritation. And I think probably if you ask people, in a poll, which is a very weird kind of way to talk to people or talk about things. But if you ask people in that way, who do you blame for it? Yeah, they probably blamed Democrats, but not enough to move the needle on the November election.
Pam Bondi out as Attorney General. Not a huge shocker. Her name has kind of been mentioned as someone who might not survive too much longer in the administration. They gave her a bit of an exit ramp, and she's going to take an undefined role in the private sector. It's hard to know exactly what went on there. I mean, there was some frustration with the Epstein files. There were some other things that she did that apparently tested Trump's patience. Not unusual, though, for members of an administration to move on after a short period, right?
I'm not sure why anybody takes those jobs.
I'm not, you know what, Chief, I'm not sure either, because what I guess she's going to make a bunch of money in the private sector.
Well, look at Andrew Bailey.
What is the win?
Andrew Bailey's kept his head down, if you haven't noticed.
The rumors are that he's not long for that
job. If Kash Patel's ever gone and he gets elevated.
Are there rumors that he's not long for that
Yeah, there was
job?
rumors that he was going to resign and come back to Missouri.
Well, I wouldn't blame him for that.
I was at a meeting yesterday, a luncheon with the governor, and all politics, in the room. Didn't hear anything like that.
Well, I know that, his family is a big part of his life, and the only reason I would believe that at all is just because he's away from the family so much. But
the president is so mercurial. He can be like, oh, you look the part, so I'm going to put you in there. And then, he meets you in one meeting, and maybe you didn't do so good in the one meeting. So now all of a sudden you're hearing that, oh, he doesn't like me anymore. I mean, that's the thing.
I think that was much more present in the first administration
I think
than this one.
If Trump taps you on the shoulder and says, I want you to come and work for me, it's hard to say no.
Right.
I get that. But you have to consider long-term how does this affect your life?
Well, I mean, I don't know that his name would come to the top of the list, but he's very close with Trump, and that's Senator Schmidt, and he was an attorney general. I think it would be a mistake for him.
Fool to take any kind of job in the
Me
administration.
too. Don't get me wrong, but that doesn't mean they won't offer it to him. And what you just said is, if you offer it, you kind of have to say yes, right?
It's hard to say no. You say it quietly. You hope it doesn't hurt you. But I can't see Senator Schmidt doing that.
No. I wouldn't think so.
I don't understand any of them who give up being a U.S. senator. There's only 100 of them. And in the case of Senator Schmidt, from what I can tell, he's going to be senator for the next 40 years. Why would you go do 2 years as attorney general, maybe get kicked out, with don't let the door hit you on the way out, and now what do you do? Right. And so, look at what, it's kind of, I bet, wrecked Pam Bondi's life. And what.
Well, I'm sure Trump helped her get the job that she's got now, the off ramp, the easy, the very light landing that she received. So that was part of the deal. Just like, what was the congressman's name from Southern Missouri that's now the ambassador to Iceland? Billy Long.
Billy Long? Is that where he ended up, the ambassador to Iceland?
He was the IRS commissioner, remember, for
that
10
didn't
minutes?
last very long,
Yeah,
though.
for 10
right.
minutes.
I didn't know they sent him to Iceland.
That's
huh?
right. Yeah,
Billy's a character. I like Billy.
He's the ambassador. Yeah, he's a heck of a auctioneer, no doubt about
That's
that.
like, I've said this before, that's the only reason I want Schmidt to be president someday, because I want one of those gigs. I think I'm qualified, Rainford, to be an ambassador to somewhere.
Well,
just like, I'd like ambassador to, I'd do like France or Spain or something. Yes, Ann did that. I wouldn't be too picky about it as long as I had a cushy place to play golf and, be a diplomat.
As long as you didn't have to do any real ambassador work.
I was recently in Nigeria. I don't think I'd want to be the ambassador to Nigeria.
Do we have an ambassador to Nigeria?
Absolutely.
Oh, we do. Yeah. Okay.
Look at that.
That'd be a tough one.
There's probably
that's somebody you're mad at. You send them to Nigeria.
I think you're right about that.
Why would you take it? Or is it like?
And those are usually professional. They're not the political people.
Yep.
They're the career State Department.
But you get
people.
a pretty if you get one of those gigs, then you get a pension and all that stuff too, right?
Well, they're career.
That's
careerists
why I want to be an ambassador. I think I would be a good ambassador. We're coming back with more. Sue, you want to weigh in on me being an ambassador?
You would not.
How about if we make you the ambassador to Dupo?
Dupo, Illinois?
Yeah.
Why Dupo?
I don't know.
It
seems like a nice.
It's got a nice ring to it.
Yeah.
All right, we're coming back.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
On the roads, we really are having a nice commute so far. We've got light traffic out there. Now, if you're headed out of town for the holiday weekend, westbound 6440 isn't bad. It's a little slow there. Hampton out through McCausland. Then you get a break, and we've got moderate volume between Highway N and the 70 split. 70 is your best bet. It looks fine right now. It's just a little slow at Wentzville. Westbound Manchester is jammed, headed for 141. Southbound 55, just the beginnings of some volume right at Bates and a little bit at Highway Z, both of those construction zones. We look fine if you're headed into Illinois. This report is brought to you by i3 Broadband. And spring is here. It's time to toss out the old treadmill and your laggy cable internet. Upgrade to 100% in-home fiber from i3 Broadband. Plus, they're springing forward with their longest price guarantees ever on their gig speed internet services. No data caps, just pure speed. Visit i3broadband.com/radio and start your spring off right. I'm Sue Thomas. That's Traffic 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
I'm Kim Commando, inviting you to listen to my show. Come be a part of the show. Every weekend, I take your calls as we talk about smartphones, artificial intelligence, security, and trends that change every single day. It's the Kim Commando Show, every Sunday from 3 to 4.
Hey, it's Mark Cox here with my friend and trusted realtor, Gloria Liu of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. Gloria, we've worked together for 6 years now. You have 23 years of experience with your Guaranteed Sold program, but many don't know you also have a Guaranteed Multiple Cash Offer program for serious sellers.
That's right. Some sellers are looking for speed, certainty, and to avoid repairs and open houses. I just helped a family in December to sell their parents' estate. They chose me because I offered 4 cash offers at our first meeting, which gave them options picking the best cash offer. Whether it's multiple cash offers or my Guaranteed Sold program, my sellers are always in control to sell fast and for the most money. It's my guarantees and my buyers in waiting program that set me apart from other realtors.
Take it from me. Call Gloria Liu right now at 314-325-6888. That's 314-325-6888. Or visit GloriaHasTheBuyers.com.
Gloria and seller must agree upon price and possession date.
Here's something I run into a lot with younger homeowners, and happened to be with my little boy. He was looking at purchasing homes, this house had a 20-plus-year-old furnace and air conditioner. And, of course, my advice was never buy a house with that old of an air conditioner. You will be buying a new one. And he goes, well, how much does a new one cost? For his size home, told him figure tens of thousands to over $20,000. If you're looking at a house, my personal opinion is make sure it's a newer unit. If not, request buyers to put in a newer unit. It makes it easier on your 15 or 30-year mortgage if it's included in the loan. Just my piece of advice for that. But if you're hearing this after the fact and you do need a new air conditioner, sorry to hear that, but call me, Bart Inman, one easy number in Missouri and Illinois. The easiest of numbers. It is 314-293-2600 or bartinman.com. God bless.
Don't let tax refund worries hold you back. File now with TurboTax on Intuit Credit Karma. They'll find every credit and deduction to help you get every refund dollar you deserve or your money back. Start filing today in the Credit Karma app.
This is the Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
All right, it's a Reardon Roundtable on a Friday afternoon with former Chief of Staff to Mayor Slay and the guy who runs Rainford Associates, because his name is attached. Jeff Rainford is here with us, former Chief of Police in St. Louis County. Tim Fitch also on the panel this afternoon. We'll have Sue's News just after 4 o'clock and then some entertainment recommendations. So a couple of things that I wanted to touch on here in the final segment here. We had birthright citizenship go before the Supreme Court. It certainly looks like the court is not going to agree with President Trump. Look, I've evolved on this issue. I used to be pretty strict to the adherence of the original language of the Constitution, but when you hear about birthright tourism and some of the things and the ways that this has been, taken advantage of, I'd like to get rid of it. I just don't think the court's going to do that at this point. They'll kick it to Congress, and Congress, we don't have the numbers to make changes, right?
No, I listen, I guess that all those things do exist. If they exist, then, the FBI or whoever ought to be prosecuting people who do things like that, who take money to do those kinds of things. I mean, I remember when we were talking about crazy stuff, Roe versus Wade. Nowhere in the Constitution does it say that you have a right to an abortion, but we read in a right, the right to privacy, right? And you all said original construction. The Constitution says what it says. That's what conservatives said for 10 years. Now all of a sudden conservatives, now when that doesn't serve their purposes, are like, well, no, maybe it doesn't say what it says. I mean, it either says what it says or it doesn't.
Well, look, I raised that point.
I'm not a big fan, by the way, of Roe versus Wade, but I also think this very clearly says that if you're born in the United States, you're American citizen.
Look, I'll be honest with you. I brought up the potential hypocrisy just even with the Second Amendment, because your side wants to say that this issue has evolved. The founders never foresaw a day where people are carrying around, semi-automatic weapons. Well, Republicans have rejected that. So is it inconsistent to go back to, the language of the 14th Amendment and say, wait a second here, that's not what was intended, which, by the way, that's not what was intended, which is why I'd like to change it. But it's a matter of principle to a certain extent, too.
My wife is a labor and delivery nurse for many years. She had a gig in Orlando, and she had one in Tucson. So the babies she was delivering in Orlando were coming from the islands, Jamaica and, the islands east of Florida. And they would come in, they'd be 9 months pregnant, and they'd say, I'm just here to shop, and then they'd have their baby, coincidentally, while they were there. So they are now American citizens, and they get a Social Security number before they leave the hospital. They get public education. We could talk about all the things that they get. And then when she went to Tucson, right near the Mexican border, you'd have the Mexican, many times suspected cartel would come over with their wives or girlfriends. They'd have a baby in the U.S. They would get the same things they got in Florida. And the difference is they would pay their bill in cash, their hospital bill. They'd pay it in cash. They'd bring wads of cash to the hospital, and they'd say, how much was it to have this baby? Well, it's $4,000. They just whip out the $4,000 and pay it. But El Paso is another place right on the border. Been there many times, and you know who's offended by the people? They come to the bridge from Mexico. They let their kids out of the car. They're escorted across the bridge into school, and they're not paying for that. And you know who that offends more than anybody? the people that did this legally from Mexico.
Yep.
They're offended by that, to see that happening,
Well, they
that
should
we're
be.
paying for that.
Right.
Well, okay, yes, we're paying for their education like we are paying for all children's education. The real question is, when they grow up, do they grow up and not contribute to our society? In other words, what you're describing, I find abhorrent myself. Having said that, there are lots of things in America that we allow, because we're a free country, that are abhorrent, that really don't do any damage. I mean, what's the damage? I mean, there's no evidence whatsoever that these children grow up to be terrorists, or they grow up to be welfare mothers, or they grow up to be anything different than anybody else who was born in the United States.
Can I go to Mexico and become?
But what does it matter? Where is the harm? Yeah. Where is the harm that rises to the level that we're going to say that the Constitution doesn't mean what it means? I mean, if we're going to go that route and say, based on the amount of harm, we're going to interpret the Constitution differently, then we'll go back to the Second Amendment.
I think the harm that
where there is damage,
the harm inflicted is resources from taxpayers who are American citizens, or people who went through the process
Where's
properly.
the evidence of that? The kids go to
California.
school.
Let's look at the state of California, which has devastating.
Not because of tourism.
The school issue is the schools out there are disasters because they have so many illegals that are being educated. Look, it probably exists here in St. Louis as well. So I think the taxpayers of Chicago in particular last year made it known they didn't like a bunch of migrants that were camping out at city parks when their resources were going to migrants and not to people who are taxpayers. So I think there is risk here. And if people are abusing the system, which they are, and we haven't even mentioned the Chinese nationals, that's more nefarious, then we shouldn't allow them that process. I don't expect it's going to change, though. I really don't.
Well, keep in mind that baby that's born in the U.S., they get to sponsor at age 21 their parents to come into the country. They get to do that. That's just part of their birthright.
So if the Republicans don't like those things, they've had 2 years where they had the White House, they had the House and the Senate. Why hasn't there been a bill? Okay, there's not even been a bill moving. If this birthright citizenship is destroying the country, which I think there's no evidence that it's
nobody
even
says
damaging
that's
the country.
destroying the country.
Well,
there's a lot,
but it rises to the level where we're going to say that the Constitution, we're going to go back to interpreting the Constitution like Roe versus Wade, Second Amendment, but where if that's going to be.
Do you think that we would have this conversation if, or this would even be before the court, if Joe Biden hadn't let millions of people stream across the border with no consequences whatsoever?
A bill. I'm fine. Pass a bill.
Well,
hold on. I don't disagree. Why haven't the Republicans who
because they don't have the numbers.
You don't have the 60 votes in the Senate.
They didn't even try. There's no bill.
Well, you're not going to get it.
Well, he'll have to after the court decision comes in. All right, here's something near and dear to your heart and my heart. Tiger Woods has this rollover accident. Can't believe that he wasn't injured more severely. The body cam came out in the last couple of days. He certainly was enhanced at pills. They pulled a couple of white pills. He was on, certainly painkillers, but there was no alcohol. It's a terrible look for Tiger. He's now gone overseas. He's gotten permission to go overseas and seek help. We don't know exactly what kind of help. But what I said earlier, and I've heard several people, Jeff, say this, look, this isn't the first time. He shouldn't be driving, shouldn't have a driver's license. And I think there needs to be punishment here. Some sort of shock time or something along those lines, because he should not be treated differently than anyone else in that situation.
Well, he certainly shouldn't be treated different than anybody else, and I don't think he ought to drive. They ought to take his license away and whatever else they can do. I don't think, now the chief will know this better than I don't think you can take this situation and say, well, it's accumulation of things, so we're going to give him a year in prison when this particular violation doesn't carry that kind of a penalty with it. But I think that he was going to probably play in the Masters. Now he's not going to do that. I mean, he's the only thing I'll say about this situation is I think he's going to get the humiliation that he deserves.
Yeah.
And second of all, they ought to take his license away and take it away forever. But I will tell you this. He's not the only one driving around. I've got a mom and my wife's mom. They're both in their high 80s, and they are giving them driver's licenses. And it's crazy how easy it is and how many things you can do and how many lives you can put in danger, and yet you can still get a driver's license.
What stuns me about people like Tiger Woods, remember when we had the, was it Jerome Little? Who was the football player years ago in St. Louis that killed?
You know
what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Was it Jerome Little?
No, it was somebody else.
Right.
Ethan will think of it probably.
What stuns me is they have all the money in the world to hire a driver, to hire cars.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
Well, especially this day and age, right? I mean, they would say privacy, but can't you roll the in the movies, they just roll that window up and say, hey, we need to talk.
What privacy did he need? It was just him in the car.
I know. It's baffling. All right.
Have somebody take you.
We had The Cardinals lose today in Detroit. They started a series, and it was a daytime series. However, the first two series, Jeff, of the year, they've won 2 out of 3. They've looked okay at times, certainly offensively. The pitching in the middle relief maybe hasn't come together. But look, it could have been a much worse start. The problem is, if you've watched the games, there ain't nobody at the ballpark right now.
Well, I mean, yes, when you trade away all of your big leaguers and you bring in people players who haven't proven themselves, I mean, that's not going to be a surprise. I think that we all have to have realistic expectations. I think Vegas had the over-under of them winning 69 games, which would have meant they would have had to lose 91 games. They haven't lost 91 games in a really,
I don't think they're
going to
lose 91 games.
I think that's still probably the over-under. I don't think anything's changed my mind from the opening weekend. It was exciting. The problem with young players is they really get fired up when they're at home and they don't play as well on the road and under pressure in different situations. But I think we just have to settle in and understand that them having a poor year record-wise this year is necessarily going to be part of the rebuild, and don't give up on it.
The fans know that. The fans are educated. They're going to buy in. I just hope that they show up.
I think if they keep playing like they are, they will show up. I really believe that.
Hey, you can have a team that wins 2/3 of the games at home and loses 2/3 on the road, but they're winning. If you're winning at home, that's what people want. Maybe you're not going to go to the playoffs, but if you're winning at home, you're winning most of your games at home, and you're doing it in an entertaining fashion, they'll go.
Have you watched any of the games? I do not like. And I guess maybe I'm an outlier in the minority. I do not like this ABS thing. It throws off. I think it throws off the rhythm of the game. I just don't like the way. Now maybe things will settle down a little bit.
I think they are
because
already.
With the other rules, they don't. I never really thought much about them. The pitch clock, all these other things that we were worried about didn't bother me at all. But this one is kind of outside of the free second base runner in extra innings. This one is not sitting as well with me. I don't know.
What's next?
Well, I like this one. Well, next, of course, there'll be no umpires. But,
that's right.
I think the umpires will, there used to be a time where if you were stealing second base and the ball was there ahead of you, there didn't even have to be a tag. It was a phantom tag, right? The umpires know now, like the one guy, 9 times he got overturned. C.D. Buckner. Yeah. These guys are going to start paying really close attention. I think you're going to see them tighten up their strike zones. And I think managers are going to start figuring out, I got to save these things for late in the game because the Mets ran out of them and needed them and didn't have them. They'll figure it out.
I read a little bit of this. There was a great piece in The Athletic, which is part of the New York Times, that had, because the current umpires don't want to talk about this, right? But the former umpires who talked to the current umpires were quoted in The Athletic story, and it was really good. It's worth a read if you're a baseball fan. Rainford, great to see you. Thanks for coming in. I appreciate it. We'll see you on the pickleball or the golf course soon. Chief Fitch, I know you're doing some international travel, so stay safe in the Middle East, please.
And happy Easter, everyone.
Happy Easter, and we'll see you guys. Thank you.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Not a bad commute right now. Westbound 6440, just moderate volume out at Hampton. Eastbound a little slow at Big Bend. And southbound 170, just moderate volume ramping on to 64. Out west, it's not bad. We've got moderate volume, a little slow on 6440 at Lake St. Louis Boulevard. And between there and the 70 split. Now, eastbound 70, moderate volume headed for Wentzville. Southbound 270 is in good shape. Westbound Manchester really jams, headed for 141. Headed into Illinois, we're fine on the Poplar, but 70 eastbound slows at 64. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
When it comes to planning your retirement, there's a lot to think about. Portfolio management, tax planning, and retirement income just to get started. Steve All and his team at the All Financial Group focus on those things and more. Their goal is to help you achieve your goals. Call 636-230-8824 or online, yourmoneymattersstl.com.
Investment advisory products and services made available through Impact Partnership Wealth, LLC, IBW, a registered investment advisor. Insurance and annuities offered through Steve All, NPN number 153-07419.
Looking for a career change? The Gelman team with eXp Realty is hiring. Their unmatched blueprint to success, real support, and proven systems help agents take their business to the next level up your future and your earning potential. Take the first step to see if you're a perfect fit at thegelmanteam.com.
I know that hiring can be challenging. You sort through tons of resumes and you get too many so-so applicants. You're just waiting for someone to match your role perfectly. Well, now, there's a place where you can meet them fast. ZipRecruiter.
Need to hire right away. Start your search for strong candidates. The right fit awaits. Build your team
Just head to ZipRecruiter.com/free right now to try it for free, and you're on your way to meeting your match. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. So try it now. Go to ZipRecruiter.com/free. Once again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Meet your match on ZipRecruiter. Try it free.
Hi, this is Steve Butts from the Crawford Butts Insurance Agency. In 2026, our agency celebrates a momentous occasion as we celebrate 65 years of service to our clients, a tribute to our founder and my dad, Nor Butts. Our staff is ready to assist you with all your insurance needs. So please call me, Steve Butts, at 314-752-2500 or at crawfordbutts.com. For auto, home, and commercial insurance needs, that's crawfordbutts.com.
If you can sense spring in the air, you're not alone. It's a perfect time to get Corel Roofing Company to come over and give you a free roofing inspection. Mark Cox here. You know, my friend Curtis has been at this a long time. Here's what he can do. If your insurance company has denied coverage for your roof, call Curtis. He specializes in working with insurance companies. You can get a second assessment from them, and often they're able to work with that insurance adjuster to find a way to get it covered. They are honest. They're going to give you a true evaluation of what's going on. Curtis is not going to overcommit on your roofing job. A lot of other companies do this. Curtis feels like quality suffers and customer service drops off. It's important to pay attention to details. Quality materials, quality workmanship. It's certainly what I got when Corel Roofing put a brand new roof on my house. Call 314-222-9529 right now. Tell them Mark Cox told you to call, or go to CorelRoofingCo.com.
KFTK FM Florissant from the Kaufman Townsley St. Louis's Injury Lawyers Studio. Call 314-777-7777.
That's 314-777-7777. Escalation in Iran. Lisa Brady, Fox News. The first time in 5 weeks of fighting that a U.S. fighter jet has gone down. In this case, in a remote area of southwest Iran. The F-15E has 2 pilots. One has been rescued.
And that rescue was carried out, we're told, by U.S. Special Forces. We saw evidence that there were Special Forces helicopters, Pave Hawk helicopters, flying over that area during daylight. The search for that second crew member is still ongoing.
Fox's Jennifer Griffin also reporting that there was enemy fire during the rescue of one pilot, believed to have been targeting an aircraft that was part of the rescue mission, but there's no confirmation of any of the rescue aircraft being brought down. Fox's Peter Ducey at the White House.
There is still a Marine sentry posted outside the West Wing. That means President Trump is in there. Usually that means he is in either the Oval Office or the Situation Room. We know that he's been getting updates on this throughout the day.
The Pentagon has not confirmed any details about the jet publicly as the search and rescue mission continues. A surge in hiring in March. Welcome news for the Trump administration.
For the White House, this shows that the 178,000 jobs created shows that the U.S. is on the right economic trajectory. That's what I'm hearing from here. It also shows a turnaround in manufacturing. Now, when you look inside the numbers on this, manufacturing got 15,000 jobs created, and that turns around declines that we've been seeing. Construction jobs adding 26,000 in March, and healthcare up big, and that reflects the end of the healthcare strike in California, with more than 30,000 doctor office employees being technically rehired. The White House economic advisors point to an unemployment rate of 4.3% and believe things are moving in the right direction when it comes to jobs.
Fox Business's Edward Lawrence at the White House, which also points to wage growth outpacing inflation. Democrats in Congress have argued the president's agenda is costing Americans money. America is listening to Fox News.
My name is Whitney Allen, and I'm a widow. My husband, Ryan, died. We never thought we'd ever have to use life insurance, but the unexpected happened. With Ethos, signing up was fast and 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. No medical exams, and you can get up to $3 million worth of coverage. I'm grateful we were prepared.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/term. That's ethos.com/term. Paid spokesperson. Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required.
I move mountains for a living. Literally. That means I don't carry hand lotion, and when it comes to serious heartburn, I don't mess around with anything but Rolaids. Rolaids' dual-active formula has calcium carbonate and magnesium hydroxide that relieves heartburn fast. Yeah, you heard right. 2 actives for that powerful relief. And the best part? The roll fits right here in my pocket, so I can get back to moving mountains.
Rolade spells powerful relief. Read each label. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation. Weather.
There is a cold front on the way, but the best chance for severe weather will continue to hold well to our north. But later on tonight, we'll see some showers and expect a couple of rumbles of thunder, flashes of lightning, windy, and 55. On Saturday, morning showers, then clearing skies in the afternoon, windy, temperatures holding in the 50s with a northwest flow. Saturday night, clear, windy, and chilly, 40. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
This hour of the Mark Reardon Show is sponsored by Gamma Tree Experts. Your trees deserve the best care. Call Gamma Tree Experts. This is the Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk.
Well, we're still following. You had a F-15 that was down in Iran. One of the two pilots have been found. They're still searching for the other pilot. We hope that ends well. We'll certainly keep you posted on a little bit of breaking news here this afternoon on a Friday, a beautiful, beautiful Good Friday. A little breezy out there. The sun has kind of been coming in and out.
Yeah.
I think we had some clouds that were in the forecast, unfortunately, but it's warm out there. And next week looks a little bit more settled with more like springtime weather, if you will. So my lawn's now been cut 3 times. 3 times already. That's got to be a record if I was tracking that this time of year.
Yeah,
Don't you think,
it
Fred?
seems like a lot.
Have you cut yours?
Yeah, I'm at 2.
You're at 2. Okay.
Yep.
Well, Ben, the kid that cuts the lawn from down the block, he did it today wisely because, man, my backyard is growing like crazy. It really, really is. So it's that time of year. And the trees don't have, like, they're starting to get the buds, but we'll get real close here to having some leaves on the trees.
I can't wait.
That tends to happen very, very quickly. All right, we have Sue's News coming up in just a few minutes. Paul Hall will tell us about some new things that are in the theaters and streaming, like Your Friends and Neighbors, which stars St. Louis and John Hamm. I love that show. I'm very much looking forward to the second season. Cusumano will be here. We got a lot of stuff going on, including Illinois in the Final Four. The Cardinals played Detroit today, and they lost that first game of this series. The Blues are really up against it. They need a win. They're in Anaheim tonight. But we'll talk about all that with Frank at 4:50. And then actor, director, and author Andrew McCarthy will be coming in studio. He's going to appear at an event at the Keating Center for the Performing Arts tonight at 7 p.m. It's at Kirkwood High School. He's written a book, and I had started hearing about this in the fall. I think I brought it up to you guys because there was a piece that was in the New York Times or somewhere else, and he wrote a book called Who Needs Friends? An Unscientific Examination of Male Friendship Across America. Andrew was one of the bigger, film stars of the 1980s and John Hughes movies, etc. He's still active, I think, in Hollywood. He does some directing, but this is the third, travel novel that he's done, or book, not novel. But what's interesting is, we'll ask him about this, he hates driving. For this book, he drove 10,000 miles, and he hates driving. So that was kind of curious. But he was exploring the, and it's rather sad, the isolation and the loneliness that a lot of American men have. And the numbers are actually quite staggering. He has some, specifics that he puts into the book. It's not just older men either. Men do things differently than women.
They do.
So it's an interesting examination of friendships. And he says in the book that it was inspired by a question that his son, 21-year-old son, asked him and said, basically, Dad, you don't have any friends, good friends.
Right.
So he explored it, and that's what the book is all about.
I find that an interesting topic.
Yeah.
It really is. Men and women have different sorts of friendships. So I find this really...
Well, I was asking Fred because, and I'm a bit of an outlier here because I seem to have pretty fair amount of close, but I also put the effort in. Yeah, that's the thing.
You work at it. My husband will work at it. And Fred, what did you say?
I don't think I work at it that much. But, I have 3 really good guy friends, Tom, Craig, and Eric, and they each are for certain things. And we just don't do everything together. But when it comes to certain things, you do it with them.
Right. Well, that's funny because Andrew kind of tells a story in there that is along those lines with, different people for different things in your life. And that's kind of how a lot of friendships work. But anyway, I'm looking forward to visiting with him. He was in the studio with me. I don't even know when that was, Fred. It was 10 years ago. It was a while back.
Yeah.
And he is in St. Louis today. You know what we're doing tomorrow? I don't know if I mentioned this. I think I did to Sue. So we're having some friends over tomorrow to watch the Final Four. And you know how I went through this whole exercise a couple of weeks ago explaining to you how I don't have an ice maker in my big what looks like a commercial freezer. So I buy the ice at the QT, and I bought 2 bags of ice last week, and we have a deep freeze that's in the garage, and I threw one of the bags in the deep freeze, and I realized we had like a 16, 17-pound turkey in there that we had not cooked from the holidays.
Say what?
Yeah. It was. I don't remember what happened exactly. I think I do know what happened. I think we bought it, and we tried to get a fresh turkey. This was around Christmas, okay? Here's what I think happened.
Okay.
And they were out, so Becky bought a frozen turkey, but we did not allow it enough time to thaw, so we just kept it frozen.
Okay.
So when I looked at it, I'm like,
Easter.
well, right.
Yes.
We're not ham people, okay?
I'm
I
not
don't
a
know.
ham person.
Right.
Thank you for saying that, Fred. Are you a ham
Oh,
person?
I'm a ham
I
person.
should have known
But
that.
we're doing this tomorrow, so when the friends come over, we're going to do it like, sweet potatoes with the marshmallows and the mashed
why
potatoes
not?
and everything. So
man, that sounds
it'll
good.
be an Easter Thanksgiving, if you will. But that was a decision that we made, and hopefully I'm going to get out and
Those
enjoy
are my
the
favorites.
Right, exactly.
Yes.
Nothing wrong with that
So much
at all.
better.
I'm still very fascinated. I told Fred earlier too. I'm very fascinated by this Artemis stuff. Anything that relates to the moon trip, and I don't know, some of the images. This is hard to do on the radio, but the way that they're doing this is almost like this big figure eight in the galaxy, where they circle our planet, then they come back around. They get
So
this
cool.
slingshot action around the moon. They go the backside of the moon, then they come back, and everything pretty much has to work the way it's supposed to work. I did see some of the live coverage this morning with the crew kind of floating in the air. They had their helmets off and everything, talking about the mission. So it's going well so far.
That kind of hurts my head when I think about the gravity effect.
Right.
When you have to slingshot around the moon. How big must that slingshot be to get
insane.
you back to Earth?
Right.
Fred, it's insane. That's
Yeah.
like when I'm looking at this morning, I'm like, how? First of all, when I'm just a guy that talks on the radio, but the people, the scientists, the engineers, the people who have to calculate this, the mathematicians, all those things, and really make sure that this crew is safe. Now, we heard an interview. You got an interview, some clips from a woman who had an astronaut as a husband, right?
No. This is regarding the pilots that are the pilot that's missing.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm confusing
Yeah,
the two. All right. So sorry about that. So this is, I did get that confused. So this woman, this is Tiffany Smiley, who is the wife of someone who is currently fighting in
she was
Iran.
in the past.
Okay.
In Iraq.
All right, I was confused because
Okay.
you were pitching this to me. But essentially what she's saying is she's sort of summarizing what family members go through in moments like this. Here's what she says here.
Yeah, this is the hard as a family member who's gone through this to see this and witness this time now, because I know the real implications. I know how these family members are feeling. In December of 2003, a medical student from Saudi Arabia walked into the mess hall in Mosul and blew himself up, killing hundreds. That's where my husband was based out of at the time. And we didn't know if they were dead or alive for days. You wait, you worry, you pray, you understand the sacrifice for this country is real. And I know a lot of Americans maybe don't have exposure to it or don't fully understand it, but we do not have this country without that. And it's not just the service member. It's the whole family.
Yeah, sometimes you don't think about that. I think about that a little bit more often with officers, police officers, and what their
Yes.
wives and husbands
Yes.
and kids have to go through
On a daily basis.
On a daily basis, right? But she says, now, did she lose her husband? Is that kind of what I heard there? Or he survived that bombing? Because I remember that incident, right? We all remember that was a big story.
You wait for that knock on the door. You watch cars coming down your driveway. You don't know if it's the mail lady or someone delivering a package or someone to come tell you that your family member is dead and you'll never see him again. Or even devastating news of they're alive, but we don't know if they're going to survive. I remember calling people and just saying, can you look at the list? Can you look at the manifest? Like, who's on it? Who's dead? Who's alive? That's real, and that's what's happening right now for these families in real time.
Yeah.
It's a deep, deep sacrifice. And, they shut down communication. So all communication gets shut down. You have no way of contacting them. They have no way of contacting you. It all goes to officials to handle it. And it's something I would never want anyone to experience.
So everyone's hunting for the crew. Iran's looking for the crew. The U.S. is looking for the crew. It was an armed forces A-10 attack aircraft that was hit in this incident. There's a source, this is from Axios, source saying that the A-10 was hit, but the pilot was safely rescued. A second source said the plane crashed, was destroyed, but the pilot was safe. So now there's a little bit of confusing information, but what we do know is that there were 2 crew members of this F-15 that ejected safely, and one of them was rescued alive on Iranian territory. The other is missing at this point. So that's what they're searching for, is the missing pilot. And I don't know that we're getting any new information about that as of yet, because I think everyone's going to look, right? They have something
I think
up there
so.
right now.
Well, it's a F-15E is what they're saying. Search ongoing for the second crew member. But you're right. The first one, just as you said, was rescued. And they're looking for the second.
I'm trying to see if there's anything new that happened here this afternoon.
Gosh.
It's nighttime now there. They say that's good.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, because it's easier to avoid
that
certain
makes
things.
sense.
And we have the air supremacy, so it's easier for us to search.
Yeah, and one other aspect here, Israeli officials said that Israel canceled plans of strikes of their own in Iran, not to hamper the search and rescue efforts. Israel's helping U.S. with intelligence to locate the crew member. Iranian media was the first to report that the jet had been shot down. State TV told Iranians that anyone who located the U.S. troops would be rewarded by the government. So you got to hope that this pilot is found and found safely. And we'll certainly keep you posted on that. We got Sue's News on a Friday coming up next.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
A really nice commute for a, beginning of the Easter holiday. And we look fine on westbound 70 out of downtown. There's some moderate volume near Cypress at the airport and at Wentzville. Eastbound a little slow at Wentzville. But 6440, listen, this is wide open. Until you get out to Highway N, it's a little slow from there through 70. We've got westbound Manchester really slow tonight. We've got, this is as you head for 141. There's some road work a little bit east of there causing a delay. 55 is in good shape. 270 looks good. We even look good on the bridges downtown. I'm Sue Thomas with traffic. This report is brought to you by Overhead Door Company of St. Louis. And you know that these winters take a real toll on your garage door. And that's as far as Midwest winters go. And Overhead Door Company of St. Louis can come out and perform their 26-point tune-up. They'll do it on your garage door and opener, just one price for up to 3. Schedule online, overheaddoorstlewis.com. That's Traffic 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
If you need a new garage door, this could be your lucky day. Entries are now open for the $5,000 sweepstakes at Overhead Door Company of St. Louis. A winner will be chosen at random to receive $5,000 towards new garage doors, openers, or front entry doors of their choice. Enter now at overheaddoorstlewis.com.
License number GL250000615.
Hey, it's good to hear you.
Hey, Dad, isn't it good to see ya?
Yep, but with smoke alarms, we need to hear them. If one alarm is downstairs, you might not hear it upstairs.
At school, everyone hears the fire alarm.
That's why we install hardwired smoke alarms that all go off together, just like school.
Smoke alarms done the right way.
Green is always grasser at grasserhomeservices.com.
Every child deserves a childhood. Make-A-Wish creates life-changing wishes for children with critical illnesses. A wish sparks a ripple of hope that transforms communities far and wide. When we grant wishes together, we create a movement of kindness, strength, and unity. Join us today at wish.org and be part of a journey that truly changes lives.
Accidents happen quickly, especially in rideshares. Whether you're the driver or the passenger, injuries can leave you with more than just physical pain. They bring uncertainty, stress, and questions about what to do next. At Kaufman Townsley, we understand the challenges you face. We're here to help you navigate the tough time, fight for what you deserve, and get you the support you need. Kaufman Townsley, real people, real results. Call 314-777-7777.
Sometimes it seems all lawmakers do is tax and spend. That's why Missouri voters passed the Hancock Amendment in 1980 to place a limit on what the government can do with your money. But the Hancock Amendment is outdated. It hasn't provided a taxpayer refund since 1999 and probably won't without reform. That's why Missouri needs a taxpayer Bill of Rights. Colorado has one, and taxpayers there have received more than $8 billion in refunds. It's simple. There should be limits on government spending and refunds when there's a surplus in the state budget. A Taxpayer Bill of Rights constitutional amendment would help limit the growth of government. Missouri's budget has nearly doubled in the past 5 years, yet the state lags far behind states like Colorado in economic growth. The Hancock Amendment was supposed to protect taxpayers. Now it's time for an update and a Taxpayer Bill of Rights. After all, it's your money. Learn more at showmeinstitute.org. The Show Me Minute has been brought to you by Show Me Institute and Show Me Opportunity.
Life can feel overwhelming, but you don't have to go through it alone. On my podcast, From the Heart with Rachel Braithen, I share openly and vulnerably about everything life brings us and what we can learn by living with our hearts a little bit more open. Every Friday, a new episode brings you a new story with topics on self-care, motherhood, healing, and more. You are enough, just the way you are. And this podcast is a reminder of that. Follow and listen to From the Heart with Rachel Braithen wherever you get your podcasts.
You're listening to The Mark Reardon Show, 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
I mentioned Andrew McCarthy's coming in studio. There's still a chance to get some tickets. He's at the Keating Center for Performing Arts tonight talking about his new book, Who Needs Friends?
Is that Kirkwood High School?
At 7 p.m. It is,
yeah.
Actually, at Kirkwood High School. That is Sue Thomas there. She's going to do this.
These allegations are deeply concerning.
Does the president have any comment?
We're not going to comment.
It's not clear messaging.
No.
And now, Sue's News. Brought to you by Sue.
Well, let me be the first to wish you a happy Find a Rainbow Day, Fred. No idea why, don't know what's happening. And it's National Film Score Day, which that's nice. We were talking about The Sting yesterday, which is one of my favorite soundtracks ever.
I came very close to searching for that last night. I'm going to do that this weekend.
Okay, good.
I don't know because I don't know where it streams or if I have to buy it, but I love that recommendation.
It's so good.
I think one of my favorite scores would be the Star Wars. The original Star Wars theme.
I remember being in band in high school. I believe I was a freshman, and somehow I had to go to summer band. I have no idea why. But the guy's idea was, here's what we're going to do. We'll have them play Star Wars, and it won't be as bad. They won't be as mad that they're here in the summer. I'm not sure it was effective, but we all, dun. Yeah.
Summer band?
Summer band. It's not a good thing, Fred.
It's that one time at band camp, though, right?
On this day in history, 73 years ago, it was 1953, and the very first issue of TV Guide hit the newsstands. It was 15 cents a copy. Can you guess who was on the first cover?
What year?
1953. It was huge at the time.
Wow, I don't know.
How about I Love Lucy?
That's right.
Whoa.
Way to go, Fred. Lucille Ball and her baby, Desi Arnaz Jr., were on the very first cover. That's a good trivia question.
Wow, that's good, Fred.
Yeah, thanks.
And 60 years ago today, in 1968, what? That's not 60 years ago, is it?
No.
Thank you. 58 years ago, in 1968, the original Planet of the Apes was released.
And it's funny.
I never saw it.
Oh, my God. It was one of my favorite movies ever.
Me too.
And what's interesting is...
Maybe it's a guy thing.
It's not going to be interesting to anyone else, but, I've told you that I'm rewatching Mad Men. I'm on the finale of season 6, and there's only 7 seasons. But 2 episodes ago was, maybe a little bit more than that, but Don Draper takes Bobby, his son, to go see Planet of the Apes. And then Betty's pissed because he has... nightmares. What? And they show the clip from Charlton Heston at the end.
What is
they
this?
blew it up.
Yeah, there it is. They blew it up. Oh my gosh, Mark.
But I was
when
I was a kid. Let me just tell you, Planet of the Apes. I was all about Planet of the Apes. I mean, we would play Planet of the Apes, my friends and I, in our backyard. Like I'd have a stick, and that would be my gun, and we would absolutely.
Wow.
We were super into Planet of the Apes.
When did you see that? If it was out in '68.
Well, I really don't know. It must have been on television.
Yeah.
That's a very good question because I don't think my parents would have taken me to that.
No.
But I may be talking about things that happened more 74, 75.
That's fair.
Because there were a lot of sequels, too.
Well, that's true.
Battle for the Planet of the Apes, one of my
gosh.
favorites there. And then, by the way, the reincarnations of those that have been done over the years, they've been pretty good. They've been pretty good, yeah.
Yeah, I have no interest. I've got zero. When somebody says that to me, I just hear zzz.
Who was that? Was it Roddy McDowell? Who was
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Also, in 1968, 2001: A Space Odyssey premiered. I haven't seen that. Have you seen that, Fred?
I have.
No, it's been a long time.
And, okay, this one is Mark-centric. On this day in history, 16 years ago, it's 2010.
Okay.
Apple released the first generation of the iPad.
Really? It was 2010.
Yes.
So, the iPhone was 2008, I believe. It was just a couple years after that. Right?
Yeah.
And I depend on my iPad Pro. I sit here with it every day. I love it.
Did you have the first iteration, the first generation, I should say?
I don't think so, because I think I've had MacBooks for a while. I don't know that I had the first generation, but pretty soon after that, I think
that's fair.
It caught on pretty good.
Well, we've been talking about Artemis 2 and all of the fancy science, but let's talk about the turlet.
Yeah, I do want to hear about this.
All right.
They had some issues, huh?
It stopped working for 6 hours. Okay, and here's a fun science fact for you. In zero gravity, airflow is what makes a toilet work. So when a fan broke, it was just a fan, there was no airflow, and one astronaut had to use the backup bag. Luckily, after some troubleshooting, NASA confirmed the turlet is good for use, and we're all fine.
So they jiggled it.
That's what they did.
Yeah.
But I mean, what if that was not something they could fix?
Mark.
I'm just wondering.
Yes, and what do you do?
I don't know. How many backup bags do you have?
Right, and what if there was a female up there? If somebody presented me with a bag.
There is. Well, there is.
I mean, on this particular trip with the toilet backing up. I'm just thinking of women and things associated, and I think nightmare. Okay,
yeah,
but anyway.
That would be something that would be a big part of the training, that they would have to effectively do that in privacy, right?
Yes.
So when they blast off, they're all wearing diapers.
Yeah,
yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Are they really?
Yes.
Get out.
Well, because they can't get out of, I mean, if you got, like me, I'd be, even before that thing was halfway in the air, I'd have to pee.
Yeah,
the rockets would go off, and I'd be like waiting for the light to go on, and I'd have to walk to the lavatory.
There'd be so many delays in the countdown.
Right. So my diaper would be pretty full, I think, throughout, all the way up until and through separation. That would be my guess. It would give the word separation a new meaning, perhaps.
You're right.
I want to thank you for that visual. And in other science news, this is interesting. Scientists have discovered a massive freshwater reservoir hidden deep beneath the Great Salt Lake. And it's much larger, it's much deeper than anybody expected. They used a helicopter-based electromagnetic survey and discovered fresh water. Now, it's up to 3 miles below the lake. But that's where it is. And now researchers are exploring whether this underground water could help control, well, obviously be a source of water, but also control toxic dust from the lake's shoreline. Have you ever driven out there?
No.
We did that on the grand tour back. We picked up that Alfa Romeo and drove it back. And it's freaky to just see just salt. It's just... It's a bizarre thing.
The only time I've ever been to Salt Lake City is the airport. That's it.
Wow, it's interesting.
I've never been to Utah.
Yeah.
Oh, I think you'd really like it, Fred. All right. Well, I'm torn. Okay. Hershey has just announced that they're going back to the classic recipe for all Reese's products. Now, that will start next year. Could you tell a difference Mark is the big Reese's eater?
I don't think so.
Well,
No.
This comes after people complained that they'd cut the quality to save money.
Oh.
And a couple of months ago, Brad Reese, the grandson of Reese's Peanut Butter Cups inventor, complained that they'd changed the classic recipe, replaced milk chocolate with compound coatings, and peanut butter with peanut butter-style creams. So they were shamed into changing.
I go through my periods with that, but I kind of went into a Kit Kat phase. And this was well before the Kit Kat heist that happened a couple of weeks ago. So I like the Reese's Thin Darks.
Oh, heck
So I don't know if they were as effective, but I never noticed a different taste.
Fred?
I did.
Interesting.
And it wasn't with the regular Reese's peanut butter cup. I got a bunch of like those mini Reese's.
Yeah.
And I tried those, and it was like, huh.
These aren't quite right.
Yeah, it's not quite right.
That's interesting. Well, the company did not actually say, okay, we're going back. I guess the grandson is saying, just come out and spend the money and do the expensive stuff. I guess the wording of this is kind of around the topic and not right head on. All right, here's the story I talked about for Mark yesterday. Good news for pessimists. Optimism is something you can actually improve upon. According to a behavioral scientist and psychologist, there are 3 easy scientist-backed ways to build a more positive mindset. One is, instead of making a to-do list, make a ta-da list. I kind of already hate it, but we're going to go with it.
Yes, I do too.
That sounds like
Can you imagine me making a ta-da list?
I cannot. And when I read it, I thought, this is screwing it all up.
That sounds like something in a sales meeting.
Yeah, right, exactly.
At the end of your day, write down everything you got done, Mark, not just the big stuff. You could talk about finishing laundry and doing all the stuff you've done. It will build your confidence. You're supposed to schedule worry time, which we've talked about before. Set a time and place. This is when I'm going to worry about things.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And then you can release it the rest of the day.
You know when I release it? Between 3 and 6.
Okay, yeah, unfortunately, that is true.
I take it out on the
Thank you
audience,
very
Fred,
much.
and Sue and Ethan. That's what I do.
And use realistic affirmations. It's called the 7 out of 10 rule. Something you believe 70% already, like I'm a hard worker. And tell that to yourself all day. Maybe not that particular one, but another one.
Why, are you picking on me for that? Is
No,
that what
you
you're
always
saying?
say we're radio. We don't work.
Well, we don't.
That's a
I mean,
good
I'm
point.
just saying. What do I do?
And finally, in Sue's News, we have today's random fact. In the U.S. alone, there are 25 flavors of Pringles. Smoky bacon, everything bagel, dill pickle, pizza. We've got that many. I had no idea. I like the regular.
Nor did I.
I'm Dan Loney with Your Money Now. President Trump has announced he's adjusting tariffs on products that contain steel and aluminum. Under the proclamation, finished products made with imported steel, copper, and aluminum will be tariffed at 25% and will apply to the entire value of the finished product. That will replace the current 50% duty, which only applies to the value of the metal used in the product. U.S. egg prices have fallen 60% since last year's record highs, making it easier for consumers to fill their Easter baskets. Bird flu was to blame for elevated prices during the first 5 months of the year. Officials added that the Trump administration's decision to import nearly 1 billion eggs last year also helped the process. McDonald's is delivering on its commitment to add more value to the launch of a new under $3 menu, as well as the new $4 breakfast meal deal. Starting April 21st, the McValue menu will include new savings nationwide, allowing customers to mix and match with options under $3. That's Your Money Now.
Texting enrolls you into recurring automated marketing text messages. Consent not required to purchase. Message and data rates may apply.
Nothing but net. Nice shot. Man, I miss playing basketball. Ever since I turned 40, I just can't find that fire I used to have.
Think it could be lower testosterone?
Lower testosterone?
Yeah, men just lose their edge after 40. The body has less testosterone. That's why I take Nugenix Total T2.
Nugenix, the testosterone booster.
Yes, but Total T2 is their brand new formula. It skyrockets nitric oxide levels in as little as 3 hours and boosts your body's free and total testosterone in just 2 weeks. Since I started taking it, my energy is way up. I feel like I did back when we played for Coach Mac, and it's even spiced things up with my wife.
Are they still giving out complimentary bottles for people to try?
Yep, send a text. It's that easy.
Text TOWER to 215215 for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T2. Text now and we'll include a bottle of Nugenix Thermo X, our newest, most powerful fat burner ever, absolutely free. Text TOWER to 215215. That's TOWER to 215215.
These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. We recently received a call from an injured person. The insurance company had offered them $11,000. We took the case over and got more than $2 million in court. Morgan & Morgan.
Visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
Did you know that 60% of adults over 20 avoid going to the dentist due to deep fear of dental treatment? Knowing that many of our chronic health problems can be directly related to the harmful bacteria in our mouth, not going to the dentist can be very dangerous. Hi, this is Dr. Michael White. I've been helping the dental anxiety patient for over 20 years with anxiety-free sedation. This is very effective and very affordable. Call my office at 314-270-8552. That's 314-270-8552.
It's time for a $98 AC tune-up.
432, this portion of the show is sponsored by our friends at Jerry Kelly, heating, air conditioning, electrical, and plumbing.
From the gateway city to the front lines of freedom. 97.1 FM Talk. St. Louis Conservative.
Cardinals already played today, and they have an L on the books in Detroit. Frank Cusumano coming along in about 15 minutes to take us into the weekend. Big Final Four weekend. Illinois in the Final Four.
Woo.
I'm an idiot because I said they were a Final Four team in December. I said it in January. I said it in February. Did I place a wager on this? No, I did not. That's not good, Sue, because if they win it all, I would have missed out on an opportunity. But they look really good. It's going to be a fun weekend basketball-wise. Actor, director, and best-selling author Andrew McCarthy, who's in town for an event tonight at the Keating Center at Kirkwood, April 3rd, which is today, 7 p.m. He's coming in to talk about his book, Who Needs Friends? How about that, Paul Hall? We got Andrew McCarthy, big 80s movie star, coming in here in just a little bit.
Okay, I should just run away, right? I mean, you got more than me. I don't need to be here.
No, well, you do, because I want to hear about your friends and neighbors. I'm a huge fan of this show. John Hamm, one of the stars. It was a breakout hit last year, Apple TV Plus, and second season is out right now, isn't it?
It is. As of today, we dropped the first episode. Now, Mark, I think I teased you and told you, you're not going to be able to like this because they're dropping one a week. So you're going to have to watch it like old school television.
There's something about that I like, because you get so into the binging and then you get behind, and like I try to watch things with Becky. So I actually think a slower pace on a show like this I'm okay with.
The problem obviously being if you miss on any of these episodes, you risk driving people away, because it is one of those things that you have to jump in right away, and they do get you started right away here in season 2. And it is different than season 1. I would say it's a lot less adult in nature with the relationships going on. They are still there. John Hamm is back. Amanda Peet is back, and we have a new character back in James Marsden, who joins the cast.
I love that.
I love him.
Yeah, I do too. I like him a lot. What does he play? A new neighbor or something like that? I'm guessing.
He is a new neighbor on the block. He is trying to move in, and where he got his money is kind of a question. Let's just say. Coop's going to find that out, though, as the season moves on, I guarantee you, and as well as other members of the community. The characters here are what you like. And you hate, for that matter. I mean, they're all bad people. Everyone in this group of friends is bad people.
Okay, is the last time I saw Marsden in Dead to Me? He was so great in that series. And is it just as good in this?
He's actually perfect for the new neighbor, because as you remember from season 1, everybody is kind of these good-looking, top-of-the-profile people.
Yes.
And it's got to be someone who looks good.
Right.
And I'll give you a clue. He ends up buying a house in the neighborhood courtesy of his brand-new realtor, who's also back in town. That's Olivia Munn's character. How she got back to town, if you've seen the first one, you know how her season ended last year. You wondered how she'd be back.
Well, I was going to ask you.
She's back with a vengeance.
And you know what's interesting is, and I admitted this last year, and this has happened over the course of time with actors and just even people on the radio. Maybe it's even happened with me sometimes where, there's people have told me that they hated me and then they liked me. But I did not really like Olivia Munn as an actress for the most part, but I thought she was so good in this. So I absolutely have a second take on her because it was a great role. So I'm glad to hear she's back. But I've also indicated this before, and you know this, Paul. Sophomore seasons are really tough sometimes. Paradise is a rare exception right now. I think they're in a really strong, maybe even better than the first season. But I even, will point out this jury duty thing with the company retreat. I hated it, and I loved the first season. I tried to watch it, and I've checked with 3 or 4 other people on that particular show, and they said the same thing. So I hope this one can move forward and be something that's still enjoyable, because that first season was really good.
There's some things in the middle of this season that is totally out of character for this. And it's things that actually hit me really hard because of my own personal off-screen life that I have dealing with in my own life in the last year or so. So it's going to be a different look. It's going to be a different feel as you go through, but it's all the characters that you came to enjoy being a part of their lives in the first one, including the daughter, the son. You've got everybody from top to bottom is back. So there's a lot of shenanigans going on all over that little block that would put Desperate Housewives to shame.
I'd love to hear it. All right, this is a new release, The Theater.
So before we got married, we did this thing where we said the worst thing we've ever done.
Okay. I'll tell mine if we all do it. Promise?
What did you do?
This dog.
Beer bottles and porn.
You left him there overnight.
Yeah.
What's the worst thing I've ever done?
Okay, Are you serious? I'm sorry.
order an Uber.
Emma, what the?
All right, this is called The Drama. Good thing we got out of there. I heard a bad word coming. What is this about? I didn't recognize, I don't think, any of the voices in there.
Zendaya and Robert Pattinson are our two leads here. They are, a young couple. They meet, they fall in love, they're getting married, they're drinking lots of wine as they're preparing for their menu, and they play a game where exactly what you heard goes on. The four that are sitting there, the maid of honor, the best man, the prospective groom, and the bride, who Zendaya is, all share their worst thing they've ever done, and they get progressively worse until it lands on Zendaya, and it brings up a whole lot of controversy. Does the wedding go on? Does it not? Do the people look at her differently because of what she said or not? No, I'm not giving it away here because I think it's part of the film. You have to see it, and I'm glad that most of the advertising is not showing you what she actually said. But it begs the question, and it creates a great discussion point when you leave the theater with whoever you see it with. What would push you over the edge and change your opinion of someone that you think you know for very well, your prospective spouse, your prospective father-in-law or mother-in-law or whomever? What is that thing? And let's not talk about little things, big things. How far can they have gone and should they have gone, and what makes you feel differently? I thought it was a really good movie once it got going. It was hard to watch. It's kind of a dark romantic comedy, but it's subject matter that is going to rub a lot of people the wrong way. So look into it a little more if you're at all sensitive about issues. Ripped from the headlines in many ways, the drama is pretty decent.
All right, what else do we have for streaming purposes or otherwise? I guess the big release at the theaters is the Mario Brothers movie, right?
Yeah, that's doing huge business. It actually, the Wednesday opening was the biggest first day of a movie this year. We're only in April, understand that. But for a Wednesday opening, Mark, we usually see these things open on Fridays. Happens to be, of course, the week of Good Friday, Easter week.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of kids out of school, so they got people out there. But it was filling up theaters left and right on Wednesday. It's still doing great. When I was in theaters to see the drama, most of the theaters were packed with kids having a good time. So that's going to be the big one, and I figured you don't need to know what I think because, quite frankly, you're going to go see that whether I like it or not.
Well, you know what, though? I'm a big fan, and I've always been an avid of adult people who don't have children to see really good animated movies because there's so many good ones out there. I mean, we're not in that era where Pixar is cranking out the quality that they were certainly in the 90s and early 2000s, but still, there's some really, really good movies out there that adults don't ever watch because they think that they're kids' movies, and they're not. Now, in this particular case, I didn't see the first film because I don't get the whole concept. I don't know the game because I'm not a gamer, so I don't even know if I'd enjoy it. So I'm not really interested in this one. I know how big that one was, and people seem to like it. You liked it, didn't you, the first one?
Yeah, it's okay. It's over on Peacock now, so if you want to check it out before you go to the theater to see the new one, go for it. But also, I grew up with Donkey Kong. I grew up with Mario. I grew up with all of this stuff, and I was avid in the community. I've got a Yoshi shirt, Yoshi's the character that is teased at the end of the first one to make appearances here. So I like these characters. It looks beautiful. The first one is absolutely gorgeous. I've heard good things about the way this one looks. I've heard less than good things about the story, how it develops, and you talk about sophomore slumps. I've heard a little bit of
well, it's still going to make gazillions of dollars. Yeah. Anything else you want to mention? I am caught up on Rooster. I know you said it's going to get better. It's not doing it for me. That's the Steve Carell show, HBO Max. So it's okay. It's average. Didn't really not blowing me away. I think I'm 4 in. I think that's how many are released. Anything else you got for us?
You don't have to check out Pizza Movie over on Hulu. This is a movie about kids in college doing drugs and going on a drug-induced trip. It's not very funny. It really isn't in many ways, shapes, and forms. And, I wanted to mention, you talk about The Sting earlier and trying to find it. It's not currently available on a streaming service for free. However, we all forget many times, Mark, when we were kids, even into our teens, we went to the video stores and we rented things.
That's right.
You can rent it for $3.99 over on Amazon Movies or on Apple TV Plus. $3.99, you can watch it. You're done. you're out.
Yeah, but
or you can purchase it digitally that way too.
And I bet you can buy it for like $10 or $15, right?
It's not going to be much.
I always kind of lean toward buying only because when I do rental, then we don't get to it, and then the rental period expires. So if the price isn't that much of a difference, and a lot of times they're not, it's worth it. Then again, you know what else I do? I buy them. And then I don't watch the damn movie until it's free streaming somewhere.
Well, you won't have that problem here, I'm guessing.
That's not good. Anything else you got for us, Paul Hall?
We paid Blockbuster $3 a pop and $3.99 for a digital rental. You sit in your own home. Not a bad deal when it comes down to it.
Yeah.
That's it this weekend. We got a lot of the new movies from earlier this year hitting the streaming services. Stuff like Crime 101 has got a streaming home over on Prime Video. Anaconda popped up over on Netflix. So you've got things hitting homes right now that you can check out on all the streaming services. It's kind of a fun weekend, and it's Good Friday, so I actually always go back and check out Passion of the Christ. It's just one that I need to check out this time of year for myself and just to reset my life for the year. So that's something you can look forward to out there.
Well, have a great Easter and a great weekend, and we'll have we'll have baseball and college hoops to entertain us throughout this weekend as well. Paul, you have a great week. Tell folks where they can find your reviews.
Simple, commonguy.com.
We'll talk next Friday. Thank you. Frank Cusumano's coming up.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
We've got an accident westbound 70 just before Lambert St. Louis Airport, and it looks like they've moved it off to the shoulder, but they just did that, so we have a delay behind it that goes back through 170. That is the worst of it. Once you get past there, things open up. Eastbound 70, a little slow, headed for Wentzville, but not bad. We've got really late traffic. Even on 6440, just moderate volume in both directions at Big Bend. Westbound Manchester is still slow east of 141, but we look fine on the bridges downtown if you're headed back into Illinois. This report brought to you by Point with an E Pest Control. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Cardinals already have one of the books from today. They were up in Detroit. We'll run that down. Frank Cusumano coming up next.
Termites cause $5 billion in damage to homes and businesses in the U.S. every year. Call Point Pest Control now at 636-798-0023 and reclaim your space from unwanted pests. That's 636-798-0023. PointPestControl.com.
Jimmy Fallon in the house, and I cannot wait to see you finally, April 11th. Although we're not calling it a redo, because we never did the thing in the first place. You can't have a sequel if you don't have an original. Get your tickets at 971talk.com/events.
The team at Ricken Financial want to help you make educated and informed decisions about your retirement strategies.
Why not rely on individuals who can optimize your thinking and optimize your plan and optimize all the resources and show you what's all available to be able to make a truly informed decision?
Call Ricken Financial today, 314-207-6211, or online at rickenfinancial.com, and join us for Kickin' with the Rickens, Sunday at 1 p.m. here on 97.1 FM Talk.
Investment advisor products and services made available through Impact Partnership Wealth, LLC, IPW, a registered investment advisor.
Every 15 seconds, someone is diagnosed with cancer. If it's happened to you or someone you love, the American Cancer Society can help at every step of the journey. Our programs and services include Rides to Care, a place to stay closer to treatment, or access to information and day-to-day guidance, all for free. To see how we can help you, visit cancer.org today.
Want to make the most of your tax refund? File with TurboTax on Intuit Credit Karma. They help you get your biggest refund, and then we help you do more with it with a personalized plan designed to help you hit your money goals. Start filing today in the Credit Karma app.
You're listening to The Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
All right, hey, we got actor and director and writer and author, best-selling author Andrew McCarthy is in town to talk about his book, Who Needs Friends, which is a really interesting look at male friendships. He's going to be in studio after 5 o'clock. Frank Cusumano's here from KSDK, a very busy sports weekend. In fact, we already had baseball today in the books, didn't we, Frank?
Yeah, tough one. It was the Tigers' opening day today. They beat the Cardinals 4-0. Michael McGreevy was not razor sharp. Bullpen very good once again. And, you know, as somebody once said, Bob Lemon, the Yankee manager a long time ago, the two most important things in life are good friends and a good bullpen, and Ali Marmol is getting some great relief work. But that offense has not clicked, or it didn't click today, and they actually really didn't have an unbelievable series against the Mets offensively. So I think that's the concern. The pitching, pretty good. The offense is going to have to pick it up.
Right, but we could be in a lot worse spot right now. You win the first two series, you have a chance to win this, so they're giving us something to kind of look at right now. Ethan, what were your observations? I know you were watching that game earlier, and the guy that pitched for Detroit is one of their studs, right?
Yeah, Framber Valdez is an ace, so I mean, there's going to be a lot of games like this, probably similar to the first game in the Mets series. The Cardinals are going to have to be creative in how they win games. We saw through the first 6 games them win in multiple different ways through really good quality pitching, but also the bats, they livened up and they got the job done when needed to in the Tampa series. So if they're going to want to keep fans entertained and drawn in, that they're going to have to win in the way that they know how to, not the way that's traditional to some of the better teams in baseball.
And who is there a bat that is hot right now? I know J.J. Weatherholt had a pretty good start, right, and continues to have one.
Yeah, he's been solid. The guy who I think he's been surprisingly really effective has been Victor Scott, who's hitting .333 as we speak. Weatherholt hitting .259. I think he's going to get on base a little bit more. He's going to draw some more walks. He's only a .300 OBP. Gorman has been pretty good. Walker is down to .217. Wynn is at .179. Pereira's at .200. So the bats are going to have to pick it up.
Frank, how about this whole Mason Wynn car crash yesterday? Obviously he's okay, but got pulled from the lineup today as well, maybe dealing with some hip soreness. A pretty crazy situation.
That's scary.
Yeah, I'd like to, right away when he tweeted out, "I'm fine." I don't think it's going to be anything serious. I mean, they started him today, and he did have a base hit. And gosh, his defense the other day in the series finale against the Mets, that arm. Look, I remember Gary Templeton's arm. I don't think I've ever seen, not Sean Dunston, not anybody throw the ball as well from the shortstop position.
Let's talk college basketball. Before we get to the Final Four and the matchups in Illinois, unfortunately, because I'm a Mizzou guy, not happy with some of the recruiting news today because Coach Gates was going after this kid from Principia who I think committed to the Illini today, right, Frank?
His name is Quentin Coleman. I've done about 4 stories on him. He scored 50 points in the state championship game. He is insanely good. He should be a junior in high school. And Mark, last summer, he wasn't that highly recruited. He went to Atlanta on one of these AAU tournaments. He blew up. So he got a lot of money, committed to Wake Forest, and he just got too good for Wake Forest. He basically said, I really can't come here. So he reopened the commitment, and Illinois had him there on Monday as they had their celebration for making the Final Four. They have incredible money. This kid's money is going to be ridiculous. When Wadler leaves, he moves right into that slot. It's an unbelievable pickup for the Fighting Illini.
Well, I would love to have him in Columbia, but that would have been like the cherry on the top because Coach Gates has a great recruiting class. And by the way, a couple of those kids did real well the other night in the McDonald's All-American game.
They did. One of them, Jason Crow, was the MVP of the game.
Yeah.
So they got 2 McDonald's All-Americans, and Mizzou kid has never been able to say that before in one recruiting class, 2 McDonald's All-Americans.
So, Frank, the Final Four coming up tomorrow. The practices going on. It was either this morning or yesterday, and not much of a surprise that the Illini fans traveled very well for it. But it's gonna be a dogfight. I think all these teams have a pretty good shot at it. What do the Illini need to do to be walking away with an opportunity to claim a national championship?
Well, they have better talent. They have more weapons than UConn. What they can't have happen, and if there's a St. Louis angle, is for Terrace Reed Jr., who went to Chaminade High School, for him to be Moses Malone like he was against Duke. But I think Illinois' length and the bodies they can throw at him, if they can just keep him in the teens and not have him go off, I think Illinois has a great chance to win. The other game, I mean, if you bet on the other game, then you're insane because there's no flaw. I saw Michigan up close and personal beat the tar out of the Billikens. They've beaten everybody, like a stepchild all season long. And Arizona has no weaknesses either. I don't know how anybody could go to Hollywood Casino Day and say, yeah, I feel really good about this one.
Well, it's as simple as this. Ask Mark Reardon who he's betting for. And
Yeah,
then pick
that's
the
actually
other.
really good. If you want to guarantee this one, so I'm gonna pick Michigan in that game, mainly because I want Arizona to win. I think.
Look, if somebody forced me to say who are you going to bet on, I would bet Michigan too. But gosh, Arizona is so good.
Yeah, they are. Well, I just hope. Look, that buzzer beater last week was just incredible.
Goodness.
It was one of the greatest moments of any March Madness that I can remember here in the last few years, and that's the kind of thing that we're looking for. So I'm looking for good games because I don't really have a competing interest this weekend. Okay. Are the Blues marginally still breathing, or they're about to have their oxygen cut off because this week hasn't gone so well, right?
Yeah, that's probably the latter. I think it's a 4% chance because they have to pass 5 teams with 8 games to go. But Mark, when they look back on this season, they're going to think about what happened the other night in San Jose when maybe their best player, Joel Hofer, let in a soft goal, and then they lose again in L.A. Those are like 4 points. They came away with 1 point, and it stings because they were on such a roll. And if Hofer just makes that save, you win that game. You got momentum for the next one, but it doesn't look like it was meant to be this season.
Well, I guess you can at least take a little bit of happiness away from a strong finish to the season.
And they're
not done yet.
top five odds at the number 1 pick in the lottery too.
That's
so
good
they're
too.
set up really well for the future.
Frank, what's coming up on Sunday night?
Well, our special guest in the studio is going to be the always compelling Kelly Chase, who's in the process of beating leukemia for the second time. Him talking life and hockey. It's an amazing story.
Awesome. You have a great weekend. We will talk on Monday afternoon.
Thanks, Frank.
All right. Happy Easter, guys.
Yep. Happy Easter to you. That's Frank Cusumano. He'll be here Monday. We do everything with him on Mondays and Fridays. So I'm looking forward to a little good baseball and sports weekend. Ethan, I know that you are as well. I don't even know the times of the games tomorrow. Can you help me out with that?
Yeah. So Illinois-UConn tips off at 5:09, and Michigan-Arizona is scheduled for, I believe, 7:49.
Yeah,
but
right around that
It'll
time.
just be after the game.
Traditionally, one of the things I like about college basketball is typically the games are 2 hours. You get 2 hours. But when we get to these, Final Fours and everything, I think everything's a little extended. There's more commercial breaks. There's so many timeouts at the end, seemingly because of the reviews that they do. So they push to 2.5 hours easily.
Have you ever been to a Final Four game?
I've never been to a Final Four.
I've
been to first and second round games, here in St. Louis
Sure.
and in Indianapolis, but never a Final Four.
Which it's one thing to watch a game at the Enterprise Center, a hockey arena, or a basketball arena, but man, you see some of these pictures in these NFL stadiums that are just absolutely massive, see 80,000. I cannot imagine trying to watch from the nosebleeds one of these games because the court is so small.
Well, and the last time Illinois was in the Final Four was at the Dome, but the last time I remember seeing basketball at the Dome was when we were, I don't think we were the first round, I think we were the regional that year for the round of 16. And Tennessee played. I think they lost. Bruce Pearl was coaching Tennessee at the time. This was at the Dome because I remember my friend Bob Wamhoff, who was a client, we were in a suite. And it was crazy because you were pretty far. I mean, I'm used to being relatively close for basketball. You needed binoculars, but we were also in a suite and we had a monitor. So that helped as well. But I don't know why anyone would want to sit at the top of a dome. I did that. The first year I went to the NCAA tournament was when Mizzou, this would have been 87, whenever Indiana won the national championship, because we were going to Indianapolis to see Mizzou. They were taking on this team Xavier. No one had ever heard of him. Well, Xavier beat them, but we still had our tickets, so we went up to Indy, and it was the year, again, that was the year that Indiana won the whole thing with Steve Alford and that crazy team. All right, I think we have actor, director, author Andrew McCarthy coming in here in the studio after the break at the top of the hour. My friend Neil Salsich from the Mighty Pines, they have a brand new album coming out. They have a really cool thing they're doing on Monday with a video shoot for a new song. He'll fill us in on that. And, of course, Neil was the guy that made a great run on The Voice a couple of seasons ago, like into the top 7. So that's coming up in the next hour, plus audio cut of the day.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Well, I've got my phone out. I was going to send this out on X. We've got a vehicle fire on southbound 55 really close to Loughborough. Now, if you have driven that lately, you understand that it's a construction zone, and they've only got 2 lanes in that area. Well, they have shut those down while they try to put out this fire. Traffic, of course, is stacking up behind it, and we've already got a parking lot jam that goes back past Delore. Good grief, it's close to Broadway. So southbound 55 drivers, that's what's happening. Again, it is completely closed south of Loughborough due to a vehicle fire. And I will try to send this out on X. Now, that's by far the worst of it this afternoon. Other than that, we've got light holiday traffic. 70 westbound looks good out of downtown. Eastbound 40 a little slow at Big Bend. Westbound at Clayton Skanker, but we are fine on the Poplar Street Bridge. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's Traffic 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
If you're considering an annuity as part of your retirement plan, we need to talk. Hi, I'm Bob Stockdale, Senior Vice President Investments with the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel, and host of On the Money, Saturday mornings at 11 on 97.1 FM Talk. Annuities can be a useful tool for some retirement investors, but not all annuities are created equal. Every week, we meet clients who own complex annuities that don't suit their needs and, in some cases, actively undermine their retirement plan. Before you purchase an annuity, get a second opinion from the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel. Requesting a consultation is free of charge. To request a free consultation, contact us at clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com, or call us at 636-695-2650. That's clearpathinvesting.com or 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas & Company Incorporated, member NYSE and SIPC.
The summer heat and humidity will be here soon. Is your air conditioner ready? This is Corey with Air Comfort Service Heating, Cooling, and Insulation. If your cooling system hasn't been checked to be ready for the warm weather, call Air Comfort Service. AC checks keep your equipment operating at maximum efficiency, prevent repairs, and extend the life of your equipment. For every AC clean and check booked in April, we'll donate a bag of pet food to Open Door Animal Sanctuary and House Springs. Stay in your comfort zone with a cooling system check from Air Comfort Service Heating, Cooling, and Insulation. Visit aircomfortservice.com. That's aircomfortservice.com.
Does heart disease run in your family? Give yourself peace of mind with our cardiac MRI bundles at Specialty MRI. Personalized scans designed to give you clear, meaningful answers. No long waiting rooms. Scan today for a peace of mind tomorrow. Call us at 636-591-1288. That's 636-591-1288.
KFTK FM Florissant from the Kaufman Townsley St. Louis's Injury Lawyers Studio. Call 314-777-7777.
That's 314-777-7777.
A search for missing pilot. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. After an F-15E fighter jet went down in a remote area of southwest Iran, one crew member has been rescued. This is the first aircraft to reportedly be shot down in the 5-week-old military action.
Those 2 crew members for the F-15E would have been given very serious SEER training. That's survival and evasion techniques to avoid being captured by the Iranians. The Iranians have put out a reward for the captured pilot if the pilot could be captured, and have doubled that reward since we first started reporting on this earlier this morning. We do understand from well-placed sources that the rescue aircraft that came to the rescue of one of the crew members, that there was enemy fire, and that it is possible that those rescue helicopters were hit in the process.
Fox's Jennifer Griffin in Washington. A US A-10 aircraft, commonly known as a Warthog, has been hit by Iranian air defenses. The Warthog is a single-seat aircraft. The circumstances of where that craft was when it was hit are not clear. President Trump has sent his budget proposal to Congress, and he wants to spend a lot more on the military while cutting spending on some domestic programs.
The annual budget request from the administration calls for $1.5 trillion for the Pentagon, the largest top-line defense spending number ever, and a 44% increase from last year's defense budget. budget. The White House Budget Office says the spending increase would provide for a pay raise for troops, resupplying munitions, and investing in a Golden Dome missile defense shield. Non-defense spending would drop by $73 billion, a 10% cut, by eliminating what the administration calls woke, weaponized, and wasteful programs.
Fox's Jared Halpern at the White House. America is listening to Fox News.
I'm Boomer Esiason. My mom died from cancer. She was only 37 years old. She didn't have life insurance, and that was devastating for my family. That's why having life insurance is so important to me. Ethos makes it fast and easy. Get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. You can get up to $3 million in coverage with no medical exam.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/save. That's ethos.com/save. Paid spokesperson. Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required.
I move mountains for a living. Literally. That means I don't carry hand lotion, and when it comes to serious heartburn, I don't mess around with anything but Rolaids. Rolaids' dual-active formula has calcium carbonate and magnesium hydroxide that relieves heartburn fast. Yeah, you heard right. 2 actives for that powerful relief. And the best part? The roll fits right here in my pocket, so I can get back to moving mountains.
Rolade spells powerful relief. Read each label. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation, weather.
There is a cold front on the way, but the best chance for severe weather will continue to hold well to our north. But later on tonight, we'll see some showers and expect a couple of rumbles of thunder, flashes of lightning, windy and 55. On Saturday, morning showers, then clearing skies in the afternoon, windy, temperatures holding in the 50s with the northwest flow. Saturday night, clear, windy and chilly, 40. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
This hour of the Mark Reardon Show is sponsored by Gamma Tree Experts. Your trees deserve the best care. Call Gamma Tree Experts. This is the Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk.
Well, let's start with a little traffic news because 55 is a mess ordinarily, but it's even more of a mess this afternoon, Sue.
Yes, we've got a vehicle fire, and this is southbound 55 south of Loughborough, right in the construction zone where there's only 2 lanes. And to put it out, they have shut down the interstate southbound. So southbound 55 completely closed near Loughborough, and we've got a huge jam behind it.
We'll keep you posted on that. We are joined in the studio this afternoon. I'm very excited about this and honored that actor, director, best-selling author Andrew McCarthy is here in St. Louis for an event at the Keating Center for the Performing Arts tonight at 7 p.m. He's written a new book called Who Needs Friends? An Unscientific Examination of Male Friendship Across America. Andrew and I have met one time previously. It's great to see you. How are you, Andrew McCarthy?
Very good, Mark. Good to see you again.
Thank you for coming in. I have often, it's interesting and ironic that the book is about friendship because, just so you know, I've often referred to you as my best friend because honestly,
likewise.
You know, we met each other. You came in for one of your books and we were trying to figure out what it was, but I figured out that you were a baseball fan and the Cardinals were in town.
Yeah, you got me tickets. Yeah.
Right, and I wanted to go. I wanted to go to the game with you, but you were so nice.
Well, not that close.
Well, no, but see, here's the thing. What's funny is you thanked me. You sent me an email and you thanked me, and I thought, look, Hollywood guy thanking me, that was great. So I happened to have your email address. So when the documentary came out a year and a half ago, we connected, and we never got an interview about that. But then I read about this book in the fall, and I had sent you an email. And it's funny because Sue sees me do this. You always answer me with like in minutes, and it's crazy, and I appreciate that. But I knew that this was coming out. So last week I saw something in the LA Times. I'm like, oh, the book's out. I want to get Andrew in. I had no idea that you were coming through St. Louis, so I'm so glad we were able to execute this.
Yeah, it was crazy timing. When I heard from you, I went, oh, of course. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
But then you're like, oh, you're in town? Wait, come by.
I would have been, you know how pissed off I would have been if I would have seen that you were here and we didn't connect, so I'm glad that we did. But let's talk about the book. This is interesting. It's a different type of book. I started reading it this morning. I'm about 50 pages in. It was inspired by a question that your 21-year-old son asked you?
Yeah. We were sitting in the kitchen, and he was just telling me about a funny story about one of his buds, and then he finished, and he kind of looked up at me and said, you don't really have any friends, do you, Dad? And
that's kind of harsh.
Look, these are kids.
Yeah.
But as I said, there's more to the story of my life than my kids are aware. So anyway, I said, yeah, Sammy, I have friends. I just don't see them, but I know they're there, and that's enough. And he kind of went, yeah, okay. But what I meant by that was, I, like many guys, when I first left home and moved to the city in New York, I had this core group of guys that were sort of like my chosen family, the people I sort of came of age with, and they were instrumental in me becoming who I would become as a man, you know. And through life and jobs and met families and all, they scattered across the country, and I realized I hadn't seen those really important guys to me in years and years, some in decades. So I just thought, I need to go see my friends. And so I got in the car and drove 10,000 miles across America to reconnect with my friends because I hate highway driving, so I just drove back roads.
This is what I love. He's a guy who hate you. You make this very clear that you do not like driving,
No,
but
I hate
you're
it.
writing books and you're crossing the country. And even here, you came from Kansas City and you drove over, right?
Yeah, I had to drive 70 though, which I hate. The trucks and all the construction.
Yeah.
It was exactly, I was thinking while I was driving, this is exactly why I drove back roads for my book. Because this is so stressful and miserable, and I don't see anything except trucks and McDonald's.
So you reach out, though, Andrew McCarthy, to some of these friends from your past, and there's a little hesitancy there on the part of the friends
Well,
to
they're
get
all
together.
like, yeah, I'd love to see you, but, you know, I'm busy right now,
Yeah.
dude. I haven't seen you in a decade, 2 decades. You know, I'd love to see you, but I'm working right now. So anyway, and I didn't think I'd drive to see them all. I thought I'd just sort of fly down and see one. Maybe I'll fly to see another time. But, you know, I did drive down to see the one friend, and then I thought, well, and it was in Baltimore. And I was like, well, Kentucky's not that far. Maybe I'll just drive to Kentucky. And then I'm in Kentucky, and I'm all like, well, how far really is Dallas? So I just sort of kept going. It was this improvisational road trip that I had no intention of going on.
Steve, who you call Seve, and I
Seve,
think, he's named because of Seve
Ballesteros,
the great golfer, Spanish golfer.
Well,
But-
Seve is not a good golfer, my friend, so he was named in irony. But
Oh,
yeah.
I like that. So he's one of the first people you try to visit, right?
Yeah.
And you find that, you know, his, I think you said he was a little older than you, but his life is in a bit of disarray, isn't it?
Well, yeah, I mean, he had terrible back trouble. So he had stenosis, I guess, the narrowing of the spine, and so he had to have a major operation for like 8 hours, and it didn't do the trick. So Seve's a wildly gregarious guy, and he ended up becoming sort of a shut-in, you know, because he can't physically move. And so when I popped on his door unannounced after he canceled on me a few times, he just kind of opened the door and he said, dude, what are you doing here?
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm like, I came to see you, buddy. Open up. And so, you know, it's one of those things, though, that we all have these moments in life that are less good than others. And he was, you know, filled with some shame about the way his life had sort of been at the moment, you know, because and so, you know, but what does friends do? Friends just kind of go, it's okay, dude. I'm your friend. Let me in. Let's talk about it, you know? And what was so interesting, too, is and so he did let me in, and we, of course, connected, and it was beautiful. And so that's what inspired me to keep going, to see these other guys. And along the way, what I found most interesting was I started stopping random men on the street in gas stations and bars, and I would just sort of walk up to them and go, hey, can I talk to you about your friends?
Yeah.
And they all looked at me like I was, of course, nuts. But I go, no, I'm driving across country to reconnect with my old buds. And they're like, oh, that's cool. Yeah. And anyway, so there wasn't a single guy across the country who said no to talking with me about this. And most of them invariably said, you know, I never talk about this. I've never had this conversation before. And I met guys like these old cops in Ohio. They're in their 70s. They've been best friends since they were 10 or 12. And they, you know, I chatted with them for a couple hours. I ran into them in an Arby's, you know, and they said, you know, we've never talked about this. We
Really?
are best friends, but we just never talk about it.
Why?
Whereas
What-
women are much
guys
better.
do
Yes,
that,
why is that? Because women, we analyze. I went on a walk today in Forest Park and solved problems like you do not know, and we do that every week.
I understand it. I stole this line recently. Someone said, women make friends face to face and guys make friends shoulder to shoulder. And I think that's
Yes.
really true.
Yes.
You know, guys sort of demonstrate love and affection through action. You know, I met a guy on this book tour. He said he can't tell his daughter that he loves her, but without missing a beat, he'll jump in the car and drive her 8 hours back to school.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's his demonstration of, I love you, kid. I just can't, you know. And I think the cliches are true that so many men have difficulty with that intimacy and vulnerability. Because, I mean, vulnerability has somehow gotten translated into weakness, and
Right.
weakness
Right.
is the
And
one
it's
thing.
not.
Of course not.
No.
But it's the one thing a man can never be is weak, you know? And so guys tend to pull back from that. And there's a lot of loneliness out there in America, too. There are all these crazy statistics about loneliness, particularly with men, with women as well. But
Yeah, you said 15% of men confess to having no close friends at all. That's up 3% from 1990. Less
it's up
than
from
half,
3%, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, from 3%.
Yeah.
Not that's very different than up 3%. Okay, then less than half of all men say they're satisfied with how many friends they have. Only 2 in 5 men report receiving any form of emotional support from a friend in the prior week. And then there's more stats, and it does, it leads to isolation. You mentioned some of the health consequences from this, right?
Yeah, there are all sorts of physical you kind of think loneliness, oh, that's really sad. But there's a 50% increase risk of dementia, 38% risk increase of heart disease. It kind of manifests physically, And when I asked a lot of people when I was on the road, do you get lonely? And all the young guys would quickly go, oh, yeah, I get lonely all the time. But old guys like me, I'd ask, you get lonely? And they go, no, I'm too busy. They would not admit it because, again, it's sort of, it means, there's a weakness in there. There's a vulnerability, and guys just wouldn't cop to it, which of course keeps us further isolated.
It does. I have a question. During COVID, I wondered if some men thought to themselves, since I'm shut down and I can't visit anybody, wonder that if they thought, okay, now I can get out when it's released. In other words, was it a release and a realization that, wow, this is really isolating? Maybe I should get in touch with these old friends.
Well, that wasn't the case for me, and I think that kind of isolation we had in COVID actually had the opposite effect. It just atrophied the muscle, and so people just went, no, I'm fine. I got my, you know what I mean? And which is, terrible.
Yeah.
But I mean, I have to say, my reconnecting with these guys and meeting all these other guys across America, and it was sort of like this safety net of fellowship was spreading underneath me as I went. I found myself laughing more, being more outgoing again, and it was just, I felt like I was coming home to myself in a way that I didn't realize I needed. My wife had said to me, beside my son making his smart-ass comment, my wife said to me before I went, and it stuck with me. She goes, after I said no one more time to going out to meet friends of hers, she said, your life is getting smaller. Mm-hmm. And I heard that. And, she may have said it with love, but it wasn't said with a lot of affection. Mm-hmm. And that really stuck with me because I don't want my life to be smaller, and particularly as you get older. I turned 60 a couple of years ago, and you really realize what's important. And it's like I needed to go see these guys and say, hey, you know what? You are so important in my life. I just need to come see you and let you know that. And invariably, they would say the same. And in that sort of, which women are really good at, acknowledging the value and import of their friendship, guys rarely do it. But in doing so, it just brought the friendship to a much sort of deeper, more, connected level, and it just in a real casual, normal kind of way. But I found it really profound in its simplicity.
Isn't it the older you get, the easier that comes? Like when you do travel the country and you see somebody you haven't seen in a while, you were able to express it, the value.
Absolutely.
And that comes with age. Women appreciate this about men getting older.
Yeah,
I think it does come with age. Yeah,
absolutely. And there's this, so many men are hard and striving and all that kind of thing. And then with aging, that's why you hear about these tough guys who become doting grandparents and everything. There's a softening that happens in a relinquishing of that kind of masculine male power. There's a softening that happens, I think, that's really welcome. And when guys welcome that, often we fight against it, and so that creates a lot of anger and hostility and aggression. But guys who kind of go, you know what, the baton is passing here. There's something else going on internally in my life, and guys have the courage to sort of go there. I found really tender and loving and really strong, but in a really just receptive way, and they were able to listen and connect in a way that I found so inspiring. I learned a lot from them.
It did that for me, having a baby at age 50, 10 years ago. She's now 11 years old. So that really did change the dynamics. But Sue knows this, Andrew, and I'm a bit of an outlier here, but I put a lot of effort into it. So I have good friends from when I grew up, from third grade and on. I have close friends that I've made even in the past several years, people who I consider very, very close. I have friends around the country, but I have to keep in touch with them. I'm not saying that they don't return the calls, and I know you had some incidents where you were wondering if the friends were going to return the calls, but I've had to work at this over the years because I feel like it's important. And for me, and I don't know if this manifested itself in any of your discussions, I joke about this a little bit because I can be a little bit cranky, glass half empty, and negative energy.
Not you, dude.
I know. It's hard to believe. But I bring people who are friends who have positive energy because they help me, and I need that. I really do depend on that. I get it from my family, too, but I feel like I have a lot of really close friends, and I feel very lucky for that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a huge thing, and then you just have to put in the effort. People ask me now that I've written a book about it, people ask, okay, what advice would you give? And I'm like, no, I'm just a guy.
Right.
But the one thing I did do is I showed up. And that cliche in life, I think 90% of life is showing up. I really do. The older I get, the more I realize just however imperfectly, however haltingly, show up for it.
Yeah.
Whether it's the kid's game or whatever it is. And I showed up at my friend's door, and they're like, whoa. And that that qualifies for a lot. It means a lot.
does.
You know?
It does.
And as I drove across, I discovered America again in a way I never had before, too.
You said you kind of fell in love with America again on the road, right?
And Americans, there's so much crazy political stuff happening now in America, but you let that alone. Like, I didn't mention politics once with anyone across the country. And people are open and gracious and interested and generous, and everybody wants to sort of tell their story too. I was just a curious guy. I wasn't interviewing people. I was just talking to people and telling them what I was doing and invited them to share about their life. And people invariably were just really interested to do that and really receptive to me. And I did fall in love with America again in a way I never had before. I mean, I'd never been to Mississippi before. I'd never been to West Texas. All these parts.
Oh, wow.
And really amazing. You know?
So, the flip side is for me, and this goes back to something you just said, and I noticed specifically when I was reading the book that there really wasn't politics mentioned. I have lost very close friends, one of 45 years, someone who I would consider one of my best friends over politics. And I hope that the relationship can be repaired, but I'm in a business where, I say things publicly that sometimes people don't like, and I've lost several friends, and it tortures me. I think about it all the time, and I want to repair those friendships. But again, it takes kind of two people to get together on that as well. So I'm very sad about the friendships, unfortunately, that I've lost. But again, I'm lucky to have incorporated new friendships at this time in my life too. We're about the same age. I turned 61 in a week.
I think people plug in a lot of stuff that doesn't belong into politics. I think we plug in a lot of our fears and anxieties into politics. And fear and anxiety, particularly fear, is just a corrosive thing, and it makes it hard to see clearly when you're consumed with fear. I know this because I'm just a really fearful guy in many ways, and I have to realize, this is just fear talking. This is my fear talking. And again, as a guy, you don't want to mention fear because that's weakness.
Right.
So you just have an opinion then and just know something. And it's like, well, wait a minute. That's just covering up. That's the mask you're wearing. So a lot of when I get into a political thing with a friend, I just try and just back off and go, this isn't about what this is about now.
Right.
This is not what we're talking about right now.
Yeah. Well, that's what I have to do too, but unfortunately, it hasn't always worked. Thank you so much for coming into town here. The book is called Who Needs Friends? Let me just ask you, I know you were doing something when I first got in touch with you. You were taping, are you directing, are you acting? What are you doing in Hollywood right now?
I just finished doing a play. I hadn't done a play in 20 years. I was in Dublin, Ireland doing a play.
Nice.
And I got to oh my God, it was so nerve-wracking.
Was it?
Yeah. And now I'm going to go do a bit on this show called Wednesday, the Adams.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
I'm
Oh,
gonna
I
do
love
some of that.
that.
Yeah, it's a
That'll
great
be
show.
great.
Terrific.
Why was the theater work so nerve-wracking? Just
because you walk out on stage and there are 1,000 people
scare the hell out
staring
of
at
me,
you.
dude. Look, I have anxiety issues. I can sit here behind a microphone, but you put me in front of a crowd, I'm done. I can't do it.
I said yes because, as we were just saying, I was afraid because they asked me to do it and I went no.
Yeah.
And I said no very fast there. Maybe I should continue. And so I did it because I was afraid. And, at the beginning, the first couple nights, it was terrifying. But then it turned into a fantastic thing.
Wait, what are you doing on Wednesday? Can you say?
I can't. Top secret.
Okay.
Top secret. All right.
Top secret.
Well,
They're
you have
that way.
you have to make one deal with me here. You got to come back when the Cardinals, I'm going to say 2029, the Cardinals and the Yankees will play in the World Series, I think, that year when we're finally good enough to compete because Andrew's a big Yankees fan. We are, as you know. And you got to plan this better, man. We could have gone to a baseball game, but they're in Detroit.
I know you're in Detroit, right?
But we are in a real rebuilding process. The good news is the fans, we are a very educated fan base, so I think we have new leadership at the Cardinals. I think that the fans are on board, but, we're used to seeing a jam-packed Busch Stadium, even this time of year, and it's really kind of been sad because the crowds have not come the way they used to. But it's time to turn it around, I think.
Yeah, I was in Kansas City yesterday. I went to a game yesterday afternoon. It was great just to go out to the ballpark.
Oh, yeah.
The Royals have been really good, too. I know they
Not
won
yesterday.
the game before. Oh, they won the night before, 14-1 or something like that. Andrew McCarthy, thank you so much. Really, I really appreciate you making the effort to come in.
Thanks, man. Great
All right,
to see
take
you.
care.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Hey, good news. They have cleared the vehicle fire. It is out, and hopefully everybody is okay. But they have reopened southbound 55 in that area. If you are a southbound 55 driver, just know that things will get better. They have the right lane blocked now again to try to get that taken care of, but traffic jams behind it. Now, if you are eastbound on 64, it's a little slow at Big Bend. Westbound lines up Clayton-Skinker out through McCausland. And 70 westbound looks good out of downtown. In fact, it's a little bit slow eastbound 70 headed for Wentzville, but that's it. And 64 out west looks great. I'm Sue Thomas, and this report is brought to you by Lakeside Renovation and Design. For over 25 years, they've been St. Louis's trusted choice for transforming homes inside and out. Windows, siding, kitchens, baths, and outdoor spaces. They deliver quality craftsmanship backed by lifetime warranties. Visit lakesiderd.com to start your dream project today. I'm Sue Thomas. That's Traffic 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Hi, this is Steve Butts from the Crawford Butts Insurance Agency. In 2026, our agency celebrates a momentous occasion as we celebrate 65 years of service to our clients, a tribute to our founder and my dad, Nor Butts. Our staff is ready to assist you with all your insurance needs. So please call me, Steve Butts, at 314-752-2500 or at crawfordbutts.com. For auto, home, and commercial insurance needs, that's crawfordbutts.com.
Ready for instant curb appeal that comes with a 25-year transferable warranty? Call Rhino Shield today. We do brick, block, stucco, asbestos, aluminum, steel, cedar, and more. Over the past 20 years, we've done thousands of homes, businesses, churches, schools, condos, parking garages, large metal buildings, and strip malls, from Champaign to the Lake of the Ozarks. We do flat and sloped metal roofs to extend their lives too. Proud to be veteran-owned and manufactured in the good old USA. So we're tariff-free. We're exceeding expectations every day. Evaluations are free. A+ rated with the BBB and a lot of 5-star Google reviews. Call 877-25-RHINO, 877-25-RHINO, or 877-25rhino.com. See what we did there? Genius. Tell them, ladies.
Don't hate, don't Rhino. Go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
If you're considering buying or selling a home, when it comes to choosing the Gelman team with eXp Realty, numbers don't lie. Over 1,500 Google and Zillow 5-star reviews, nearly 6,000 homes, and $2.5 billion in real estate sold. 314-336-1991, thegelmanteam.com.
The Mark Reardon Show, 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
You know, one thing that's funny, I'll give you a little behind-the-scenes thing here, because Fred, who is, I think, walking Andrew McCarthy out to his car, would tell you this, that when we book guests, the two most difficult people that you can't really trust are actors and rock stars. And we booked both this afternoon because Neil Salsich from the Mighty Pines is here with us in the studio. And we just get nervous. I knew you're a friend. I knew you were going to be here. But I'm just telling you, it's not unusual to be stood up by rock stars and actors. Neil, how are you?
Hey, Mark. Good to see you. And Sue, good to see you again.
Good to see
rock star, I don't know about that.
Well,
I mean, I'll take it, but also, I know
take
you.
it.
Yeah,
Just take it.
well, I think you should take it. Neil made an incredible run on The Voice a couple of years ago into the top 8. He has a great band, the Mighty Pines, and they have a new record that's coming out. We'll get into that in the next segment. But you, and this is a tough conversation for me because Neil and I have known each other for a while. You've known that I'm a big Springsteen guy. I went to Barcelona to see the opening of the European tour almost 2 months ago to the date, right? I've seen him 45, 47 times across my life. I've met Bruce, okay?
Whoa.
I sat next to him at a movie. But, dude, the politics thing, he's gone a little too far for me. I've always known his politics, don't get me wrong. I've been in shows where he's let the music speak for the politics, but I watched the first two songs the other night because you were in Minneapolis, right?
Yes, I was.
And they streamed it, and I saw it. So he came on stage very defiantly, and he's not beating around the bush about his opinions, right?
No, he's not. No, he's not. I was, but I'm glad you brought this up, Mark, because I was thinking about you during the show, and I was like, we had this segment booked, and then I'm like, I'm sitting there getting evangelized by Bruce Springsteen, and I'm kind of eating it up. It was very powerful. I mean, there's a lot of complex feelings. There was one moment where I'm going, man, you know, because it makes me. I don't normally listen to this show and this sort of spectrum. It's hard to talk about, but there's this dichotomy where I'm like, where we're friends, you know, and a lot of this stuff I'm into, like the segment you just had was fabulous. I'm driving over here, I'm like, oh my god, this is a great conversation. What an awesome.
But you hate my politics.
I'm reluctant to say anything, but yeah, it's a thing that I dance with, right? And so there is a moment at the show where it's the peak of the show, and I'm feeling it, and I'm like, man, I don't know, what does it mean for me to go on Mark's show? Then the next thing, literally, it's kind of funny. Then I mean, this is the thoughts in my head. The next thing Bruce says, he says, "You know what? It's hard to talk to your neighbor these days, you know." And he went on a little. He's
right about that.
And it was something. It was just something. It's funny that's what I was thinking about in that moment. And he kind of said, and I really believe this. You know, what I shouldn't do is be like, screw this. I'm not coming on. I'm not talking about it. You know, because I'm not trying. I don't want to shut those doors. You know what I mean? And I love when we just hang out, and talk and stuff. It's hard to talk about.
We don't talk politics, though.
I know.
And so for me, this and you know, some listeners might mock me or make fun of me or whatever, but when I was a 16-year-old kid here in St. Louis, 15, 16-year-old kid, I was very lonely. I was fat. I didn't have any friends. I just moved from Chicago. You know, when I was 14, that's very tough. I was in high school at that time, or just wrapping up back in junior high, because I had to go back to junior high for freshman year, and then to 3 years. They've changed that since then. But you know, I remember this night. My dad knew I was kind of bummed out, and he took me to Peaches Records on Manchester Road in Ellisville, Baldwin, and he said, "Pick out any record that you want." Well, even then I was thinking, man, and I said, "Let's get a double record." So I bought The River. Ooh. And that was the first Springsteen record I ever got. And he literally is someone who nurtured me through my high school years and gave me something to latch onto and gave me hope. So the music literally changed my life. And that became a decades-long process. I used to be a little bit, you know, peripheral inside the E Street Band world because I knew Nils Lofgren and Steve a little bit. So I've been to a lot of shows, and I've always been, you know, very privileged because I've been in the E Street Lounge and in the pit and everything. So it's hard for me because where my issue is, Neil, is not that he's saying what he's saying right now. He's every right to say that, right? But I didn't hear him saying anything 4 years ago when things were not going too well. And I could say, if I had a chance to sit down with Bruce right now and say, wait a second, I get what you're saying, but why didn't you bring this up when Biden was president, when things were going wrong? So it's tough for me as a fan of his music, and maybe people have this thing with Robert De Niro as well because he's kind of gone off on the politics, but it's very tough for me, and I'm not the only one. There's a lot of people that are like me that have been with Bruce for a long time, and we're struggling with this right now. And that's the only thing I can say. I don't know if I can explain it any better.
Yeah. I wonder how you're such a music fan, you're such a culture fan, and I sometimes, even besides the Bruce thing, I'll think about you or people I know like you, and I wonder what it's like. I don't really know that experience, but I don't know, man. I think I'd like to hear Bruce's answer to that if he was sitting here, right. And I do believe that he would give you an answer, and a thoughtful one, and you know, and it's
very complicated.
It's a very complicated thing, and I do think our whole country is really struggling with that and dealing with that. I don't know, you know, and just like, but it's hurting everybody.
But the thing is like, I can go to the Mighty Pine show and I can be standing next to someone that could think I'm a Nazi or whatever, but it doesn't matter. I'm into the music. That's the thing that bothers me about this, because I could stand next to you. I've been to so many shows. I'm sure there's a lot of liberals that I've been next to. Most of my good close friends are liberals, right? So I don't judge people based on that. But I feel like I can't just stand side by side someone at that concert anymore and just enjoy it for what it was. And maybe that's going to change. Maybe that'll come around a little bit. But I'm just sad about it. I really am. I'm really sad about it because for the most part, and you know, I have had a lot of experience in Hollywood. I used to review movies. I've always had to separate the politics and the entertainment. Otherwise, I would have no entertainment or music to listen to, you know?
It's a strange, I don't know what to make of it all. I'm glad I'm glad you brought it up. I'm glad we're talking about it. It gives me hope when I have relationships or just even simple interactions with the other side of the aisle, and it is honestly just a weird reality where everything is either or, and
that's why it's not fair, because with me, and I think you know this, I think it's nuanced. Things are always nuanced. Like I even had my son reach out to me at one point a couple of months ago, and he assumed that he knew my position on something. I goes, no, you're wrong about that, you know, so you'd be surprised. But look, I appreciate that it was on your mind, but let's briefly talk about the show, because look, there's no doubt Tom Morello was with him the other night. They did a cover. I think I have the Purple Rain cover.
It was righteous.
Well, it's a spiritual experience right here. Listen to Purple Rain a little bit, because Nils just killed it on Purple Rain, and so did Morello, right?
I can't even believe I saw this.
That's the guitar solo there, obviously in Minneapolis. It's not the first time they did Purple Rain, but that was pretty cool. So, yeah, he rocks out, right? And, the difference was the set list was obviously a little bit more with the songs that have a harder edge tone or have more social importance.
Yeah.
But he still did Dancing in the Dark, didn't he?
Yeah,
that was Avenue Freeze Out.
I was with a bunch of Bruce heads that were like you.
Yeah.
So I realized there's dead heads and there's also Bruce heads because
there's
there's a whole subculture to this thing.
Well, Bernie Miklasz has seen 120 shows, I think.
I'm kind of new to this whole scene. It's really exciting. I was texting you, Mark, I think a couple months ago when I got this by chance, picked up this live vinyl box set for $20.
Yeah.
At Circa Now Records on South Grand, just totally randomly, I was hanging up Mighty Pines posters. Right?
Yeah.
And I'm going around town, and I don't even buy records anymore because I have too many. So, and I'm like, I can't do this. It's too tempting, but I see this thing and I have to walk out with it. I have dropped the needle on that and it has pretty much been on my turntable. So I'm listening to those recordings going, wait a second. Bruce is, I'm like hooked, man. It's the band.
Yeah.
It's that smoking band. And I'm just like, as a musician myself, it's fireworks, right?
Well,
it's
and so,
fireworks.
and the band that he goes on a tour with is I don't know, was it 14, 15 piece, maybe more, maybe 18 or 19.
Oh, really?
Big horn
18
section.
Or 19?
Yeah, I think when I saw Barcelona, it was like a 19-piece band.
But these, well, I'm really into Max Weinberg now too because
Mighty Max.
Because all this is new to me. So
Yeah.
I think you can appreciate this. And like anyone who's been there, done that with Bruce Springsteen, I'm kind of just like arriving to the party. And I'm like, whoa, this is pretty amazing. So it was a heavily special experience. So back to my story, I'm with these guys that know the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think one of them said, what's one of your favorite songs? What's one of your favorite Bruce songs? And I said something about Dancing in the Dark. And they're like,
if we never hear that one again,
never
it'll
play
be
that. Yeah, he's like, that's the hit, whatever. But I think that's a great song. And he turns out he plays it. And also, I was kind of just joking, saying, well, what if he plays Purple Rain or something? And so at the end of the show, where it's getting towards the end, and he's doing 10th Avenue Freeze Out. And it's Righteous, and he's on the catwalk for the first time.
And you're right there because you're
he's
inside
right
the
next
pit.
to me, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
So then we're there, and the show's being filmed or live streamed. So the camera operator turns to follow him, and then all of a sudden, my buddy points out that the camera operator has the set list. So then he goes, look at the next song.
Yeah,
and it was Purple
Rain.
And I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it. I almost wish I didn't know that because my head would have exploded because the lights went down. I mean. And then you hear that opening guitar chord.
Yeah.
The iconic one.
I saw that.
Dude,
so they released
nuts.
that video.
It was, and I've also coincidentally been living in the world of Prince for the last couple of years.
That's a good world to live in.
That was my phase in a weird way. The Prince phase is ending and the Bruce Springsteen phase is starting, and it's I'm here for it.
Hang on, Neil Salsich. We're going to talk about your band, the Mighty Pines.
All right.
You're doing kind of a fun thing on Monday with a video, right?
Yep.
I want to talk about that. It's coming up.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Crews have moved they have put out the vehicle fire and moved that to the shoulder. But there really isn't one in the construction zone on southbound 55 past Loughborough. So we've got only one lane open, southbound 55, where this was, and we've got a jam behind it. So if that is part of your commute, that's what's happening. Only one lane open. Now, westbound 64, it's not that bad. There's some moderate volume really in both directions at Big Bend. And out west, it's fine. 70, a little bit slow eastbound, 141 through 270. And eastbound, headed for Wentzville. We look fine on the Illinois side at this hour. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Well, let me talk to you about MasterCars Inc. I love Alex and Gary Rosenberger. They have a used car dealership with new car caliber over there in Granite City. And they one thing I always like to impress, because you can go to MasterCars Inc. right now and go to the website, and you'll see all these cars and Harleys and cool Corvettes that they have that are on the lot right now. But they have everyday cars as well, whether it's a Subaru or a Chevy Yukon or a GMC Yukon, for example. Everything that's on the lot is certainly something you can buy. But the way that I've used them in the past is I've gone to Alex and Gary, and they love this because they have a passion to say, I'm looking for this car, this many miles, see if we can hit the price. Sometimes you got to be a little bit, willing to give in and sacrifice some things, but they're going to hit as close as they can, and you're going to get a great price, and it's going to be a beautiful car. If you have a beautiful car and you want to sell it, you want to get top dollar. I sold a Jeep Grand Cherokee to Mastercars Inc. I'm so sad that I did that, but we got a really good return on that, and they'll take care of you that way as well. Check them out. The website, mastercarsinc.com.
I'm John Morgan. There are many reasons to hire Morgan & Morgan for your injury case. Reason number 3. First, all lawyers are not the same. If my family had an injury case and I couldn't hire us, there are only about 3 to 4% of the lawyers out there that I would hire. And here's why. Most of them rarely, if ever, go to trial. They just take the last best offer. Hell, you can do that yourself. Do this. If you're looking for a lawyer, Google Morgan & Morgan results and see what comes up. It may shock you. Then Google the firm you're thinking of hiring and do the same. That may shock you as well. We became the largest injury firm in the world for a reason. We won a lot. $30 billion and counting. Morgan & Morgan. For the people.com. Who would I hire? I'd hire us.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements. Past results afford no guarantee of future results. Every case is different and must be judged on its own merits.
It's time for a $98 AC tune-up.
This portion of the show is sponsored by Jerry Kelly, heating, air conditioning, electrical, and plumbing.
For details and a list of all station contest rules, visit www.971talk.com/rules. Born in the Midwest, built on common sense. FM Talk. 97.1 FM Talk. St. Louis Conservative.
I'm going to play a little Mighty Pines here in a moment because we're talking with Neil Salsich, who is the leader of the Mighty Pines, but he was just up in Minneapolis. I have to ask you one thing because when I was texting you the other day when you were at the show, I asked you if you knew who Martin Sexton was. And you're like, of course I know who Martin Sexton is, right? And you actually warmed up for Martin at one point, right? Mighty Pines did?
Yes, we did. But see, I go way back with him. That was a CD my dad had. Freedom of the Road or whatever that album was.
He's awesome, isn't he?
Tongue. I mean, I just grew up on that music, and when you're a younger kid, you don't always know that. To you, every guy who's got a CD is a superstar.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So it's a nice way. Like your guard is down for new music when you're younger, and there's no expectations.
So I didn't realize you were familiar with that back. So Martin is one of those guys I would say that people in the music industry, they know Martin Sexton. John Mayer loves Martin Sexton. John Mayer worships Martin.
Wow.
So when I had Martin on one time, and I know him, he's very good friends with my friend John Lynch, and of this all goes to Cerritos Beach.
Guy,
I know.
The
you have to meet John.
House concerts.
Right, and that's what Martin's done. He's come in and he's done some of the house concerts. So I know him a little bit, but he's much closer with John. But he's the kind of guy that people in the industry know because he's so talented. He really is. Dude, I love this song so much, the new one. I don't know what it is about it. The new record is coming out. This is called The Longest Night. And I've sent this to several of my friends, Neil, because I love, and I don't know if we'll get to hear this, I love what you do it with your voice at the end of this song as well. Tell me about this song and writing it. It was the first release from the new record, right? Wait, let's hear a little singing before I was trying to hit the post. Here we go. I know it's like 22 seconds. It's like an old radio song. This one's called The Longest Night.
I never felt so alone. I didn't see this coming. There's an aching in my bones, and it came from love.
All right, so I've had that on repeat for about a month now, and I love the song. So tell me about it. And it's also produced by Steve Berlin from Los Lobos, right?
He did our previous record. He did this record. It's funny that you like this song and you also like the song Your Town from our last record.
Yes, I did.
You must. There's this tragic romantic inside of you, which
must be,
by the way, which is the big part of my songwriting psyche. So a lot of someone pointed out to me the other day. I was actually kind of embarrassed, but it's so obvious. They're like, yeah, like all your songs are like breakup songs, and I'm like, well,
a lot of artists have that. Though.
No, but so the cliche is true. Then I mean, it really is. That's when. This song means so much to me. I mean, I needed this song. But the reason it was probably our first single was like, you know what? It ended up being like the band's favorite song. Just everyone was just kind of like the most pumped about this. It's kind of like the simplest song. It didn't need much. It was, I don't know. It just was really well received by my bandmates.
I want to play. There's a part in here where I really like into the second chorus. So let's see here. Second verse.
Or the second verse.
Yeah, the second verse is my favorite.
It's ear candy.
Part. It is.
I was so
I think here it is, right?
I'm broken and I'm busted. I can't see the way.
That's my favorite line right there. I got chills just listening to that because that is the part of the song that really I love. And then you do some really cool things if we get to the end because I want people to hear what your voice does.
This night it's taking everything I've got. Tears are coming, my breath is thin, my stomach is in knots. All I see around
There you go.
me is everything I've lost. Everything
My voice is terrible, but seriously, I love that song. And I love the latter
really
part of
appreciate
that song. So it's very cool. So when does the whole record come out? And you're doing something cool on Monday I want to talk about too.
Yeah, so the record comes out July 31st. We're releasing singles the last Friday of every month. So the next single that comes out, we're shooting a music video for that on Monday. We're working with, dude, the amount of creatives and unbelievable talent here in St. Louis is like never ceases to amaze me because, I think I know the scene. Well, guess what? I don't. And especially in the sort of film world or like the aspiring filmmakers in the video world. So we're doing a lot of music video content for this album. And I have met these guys that on the music video shoot for Longest Night, which people can find on YouTube. I mean, I just couldn't believe the quality that I was working with. I'm expecting to show up and someone's got their iPhone and that's just like the way a lot of content is made. No, these guys were directors in the making.
Yeah.
And I had the feeling that they're going to be doing big things someday too. So it's just really inspiring. We're doing a music video shoot in the Central West End. We were trying to get 100 extras. It's kind of ambitious, but guess what? We put the sign-up sheet out there on Monday, and it's like already pretty much full.
Well, it should be.
Absolutely,
that's great.
That's exciting. The album's coming out. I mean, it's a busy time. It's a busy time.
You tell me if this is accurate, but I feel, and you're going to have more emotional feelings than me, but I feel like COVID really screwed you guys up because you had the album, you were about to go on tour, and then COVID hits, right?
Yeah, it is
funny. What it is. But
yeah, it's kind of like. We've dwelt on that so much, and so I suppose that's an angle that you could take, but it's just complicated because you're right. It's almost like I forget about that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And sometimes on my phone when it'll show me like memories, there's all these tour dates, and I mean that never actually happened.
Yeah, I know.
And I'll see this tour poster, and it's just like a strange kind of ghostly memory because it never even happened, but yet there's this poster for it, and all these places, all these legendary clubs. You're right. It was a crazy time.
So when you look back on the Voice experience, how do you reflect on that now?
Also in a similar vein where it's like a dream or something, because my life, I've just moved on in so many ways. And I don't mean like left it in the past. I just mean I'm just always constantly moving forward. And there's so much that's happened. And it does surprise me, that reality. When I do see the pictures or the videos, I go, that was me? That's crazy. It was you just had, a Hollywood star in here. It's just like a whole different, it is the big show.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Yeah.
It is a whole different planet. And it's freaking exciting to be a part of it. And then it just
ends, right?
It chews you up and spits you
because
out.
like Blake's not texting you every week, is he?
And he never did.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
I mean, they always tell you, "Oh, Neil, we're gonna be," they just
dude.
don't, right?
I learned a lot about show business just by watching them, though. So I'll take a little bit away from it. And they're good at that.
Yeah,
and they are slick, dude.
Well, and they're
Blake,
big stars. You get to a certain level, and it's just a different stratosphere for a lot of these people.
But they got that way for a reason because they just have that something, man, and they can just turn it on and wink at you and shake your hand and smile at you, and then and move on and never talk to you again, but you'll never forget.
Right?
That.
No,
You know
exactly.
What I mean? That's
well,
a special thing.
that is what it is. Did Steve produce the whole record, Steve Berlin?
He did, and so like that part in Longest Night, that second verse that you're talking about, I think that might be my favorite part of that song. It might be my favorite 10 seconds of the record because
I'm so glad to hear you say that because I'm telling you that is my favorite part of that song.
I'll just break it down for you. It's like. So Steve's in there. We added like all this cool percussion on there. There's all these layers to the music that a producer, for example, will know how to do, or a really good band will. And it's just so cool because like there's so much going on in that moment, in those seconds, but it doesn't feel like it. It's easy and it's groovy, basically. Like that song has a freaking groove. And that second verse, when it hits in, there's the percussiveness of the lyrics and my delivery, and then there's this percussion tracks, and the drums and the bass. Like shout out to the rhythm section. Our rhythm section just made every song sound Huge.
I can't wait to hear the whole
Huge.
album.
You're gonna love the
I
record.
really can't wait. I was so taken by this one. So
thank you.
I love that we match up on our. I can produce your next record. Is basically what I'm saying. I think.
Hey,
unqualified.
let's see. You've got a lot of music knowledge. I love talking music with you.
I love the whole. I'd love to talk to like a guy like Steve or a producer because some of these guys are so good. I mean, you get into the Rick Rubin world and some of the magic that he's done.
Producing is an amazing thing, and I've learned a lot about it, and I'm in awe of it. I hope to do it someday. It's its own type of skill.
Yeah.
Just like what you're doing on the mic, and just like a great guitarist. I mean, a producer is like this is a whole thing. It's special.
Mighty Pines going to go on tour then with this record?
Yep. We're booking shows as soon as we can and as quick as we can for this summer. So we'll be at Blue Ox Festival in Eau Claire, Wisconsin. That's probably one of our big summer dates.
Nice.
I mean, the lineup for that is unbelievable.
I'll have to check that one out.
Unbelievable. We'll be in Columbia, Missouri next month. themightypines.com if you want to learn more.
Yep.
We got shows being added every single week, and I'm frantically confirming them because my agent's texting me today. Hey, buddy, pull your head out of the music video shoot. Give me some answers. So and then I'm like, well, I got a Mark Reardon show at 5:30. So there's a million things. I'm running around doing a million things, but I love the work, and it's always exciting.
You're having
Every day
a blast,
is different.
man. I'm so I didn't get to this topic this week. I might next week, but there was a piece that was either in the Wall Street Journal or the New York Times that was talking about how people are more than ever just. They hate work. Their work is not fun for them. It's not, there's no joy. And I'm very lucky because I get to do what I've always wanted to do since I was literally like 12 years old. I didn't know I was going to be a talk show host. I wanted to be a disc jockey. But you're a creative person. You know how that is. You couldn't sit in an office with fluorescent lights.
way.
So you're real lucky that way, and you're doing great. So thanks for coming in, Neil.
Thank you,
know how
Mark.
much of a fan I am. I got to go out with the new song here, The Longest Night. Check out The Mighty Pines. We're back with Audio Cut of the Day. We'll see you, Neil.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
We've still got a jam on southbound 55. This is because of an earlier vehicle fire just south of Loughborough, and they've got the right lane blocked. Well, there's only 2 lanes that are open because it's a construction zone. So only 1 lane getting by, and we've got a serious jam going behind that. Now, westbound 70 is fine out of downtown. 64 looks fine. Now, eastbound is a little slow at Big Bend, but that's it. For the most part, we're in great shape. We look good on the Illinois side and on the bridges downtown. Traffic-wise, we are looking good on the JB Bridge as well. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
What Sue wanted to say about 15 seconds ago is, Mark, get your ass back in the studio. I'm done with traffic. You're talking with Neil, right? Can I say that?
Oh, yeah.
But I was saying goodbye to him, and we were taking a little quick photo. So that was a fun hour. I
Yeah,
think we had
it really
lots of interesting
was.
conversations.
Really
Those are best of conversations, Ethan Hanifer, if you're listening in the other room. Let's, I think I can announce this now because we've been kind of teasing the fact that we have another seminar coming up here with the team from the Retirement Advisory Center. And they do great work, Thomas and the team. They give you options, too, for keeping more of your money. And they're going to teach you strategies that you might not be familiar with. So here's the opportunity. And by the way, I always mention you can go one-on-one. It doesn't matter if you come to the seminar. It's just that some people are more comfortable in the group setting. So if you are that person, check online and go to retirementkey.com. You'll see all the information. You can get registered for the event, which is coming up at the end of April. In the meantime, if you want to go in one-on-one, do that. Make a meeting. Tell them you've heard about it here on 97.1 FM Talk. If you go to retirementkey.com and you click on the register tab on the front page, it'll either take you to the event that we're going to be at, Mark and Annie and I, or you can set an appointment on your own. So you have those options. But don't put it off because these are big decisions. We'll be in Chesterfield on April 28th at 6:30 p.m. How to create a worry-free retirement. Would love to see you out there. Retirementkey.com.
Do you really need a professional to handle your income tax return? I'm Brian Brenberg, co-host of The Big Money Show with your Fox Business Tax Tip. Free and low-cost software is available to help many Americans file taxes if their adjusted gross income was less than $89,000 in 2025 by visiting irs.gov. But some circumstances may call for professional help, according to tax attorney Rebecca Walzer.
If you have any kind of unusual circumstances, property ownership, property sales, rental income, or a second job, contracting job, 1099s, this is where it starts to get more complicated and you might want to look at hiring a professional.
Experts also advise considering your time. Watch The Big Money Show, weekdays at 12 p.m. Eastern on Fox Business. Brian Brenberg, Fox News.
97.1 FM Talk, proud to partner with Missouri Right to Life.
This is Steve Rupp, president of Missouri Right to Life. Join us at our Make Missouri Pro-Life Again banquet with keynote Riley Gaines on May 20th in St. Charles. Go to the Missouri Right to Life website for details.
Hey, it's Mark Cox. Take your lawn from good to great with my friends at Lawn Enforcement. I'm talking expert lawn care services to keep your lawn in order. And here's what they'll do for you. Anybody can mow your grass. At Lawn Enforcement, they want to enhance your property. They'll do the mowing and the trimming. They'll fertilize and implement a weed control program and erosion control, which includes retaining walls if you need it. They can landscape, they can design and install your flowers, your shrubs, your trees, all of your hardscapes. No project is too big or too small for my friends at Lawn Enforcement. You can check them out online at yourlawnenforcement.com. So instead of envying your neighbor's lawn, your neighbors are going to be wishing they had the lawn and landscape that you have. Go ahead and enjoy your space. Be proud when you entertain your friends and your family. They've been in business for over 30 years. Be sure and tell them Mark Cox sent you. Go to yourlawnenforcement.com.
Nothing makes a gathering great like Eggland's Best Eggs. They're just so delicious with better nutrition, too. For us, it's eggs any style, as long as they're the best. Eggland's Best. Better taste, better nutrition, better eggs.
Mark Reardon is St. Louis conservative.
Wow, this was like one of those blur of a show's day. We had a roundtable to kick things off, a fun 4 o'clock hour. Frank Cusumano was on fire with all of his Final Four previews and talked about the Cardinals and the Blues. We had Andrew McCarthy, which was amazing.
Wow.
Neil from the Mighty Pines. So I haven't thought one bit about Audio Cut of the Day, Sue. I'm just going to basically tell you that I'm unprepared for my final segment here on the show. But we've gotten to the final segment, which is good. Jimmy Fallon is going to be here Monday. Not here. He will be here a week from tomorrow in St. Louis. He'll be on the show Monday at 5 p.m. We had to reschedule Jimmy's show because of the big, can we call it the blizzard of 26? Or it was a pretty significant storm. It was wise that he canceled that weekend. We do have some tickets available at the factory for that show next Saturday night. I think it's going to be fun. It's a comedy show, too. Jimmy made it very clear, like, what you're going to see at the factory is different than what he does on his radio show or that you see on Fox. So I think it's going to be a real fun night, and we hope to sell it out in due course. So it's April 11th, a week from Saturday.
Stand by. Playback ready.
Now, the audio cut of the day.
Well, we're going to spend a little bit more time on this on Monday because I'm just fascinated with all this stuff with NASA and with Artemis 2 right now.
The burn was executed by our flight operations team here in Houston, and it was flawless. The burn was the last major firing of this mission.
So they're off to circle the moon now.
We're definitely 100% on our way to the moon. The lunar gravity will take over in a couple of days here and start pulling us around the far side. At the end of our translunar injection here about an hour and a half ago, we just really looked at each other. And I know the United States has done this 1968 through 1972, but this is unbelievable that we can put our minds to something and pull it off.
I think we were, we like to say that we're prepared without having an expectation. But, in the back of your mind, you kind of hope you launch. And then when we got really close, it was like, wait, we're getting ready to go to space. And when those solids lit, it was a ride where you're trying to be professional, but the kid inside of you wants to break out and just hoot and holler.
I would love to give a quick shout out to our families before we keep going on with the questions, just because we haven't had a chance to say hi to them, and it's just so great to have had their support building up to the launch, and we miss you guys already. Living in Orion isn't quite the same as being at home with our families, but yes, some of the exciting things are the burns that we do. There is no difference between up and down, and so yes, I've been sleeping with my feet there and my head down here, and it's very comfortable.
It's crazy. It doesn't look comfortable to me, but
no, not at all.
I think the views must just be incredible, right?
It's got to be surreal. Even if you practice for it, and I know they have, and they run the whole thing, but once you're there,
doesn't
right?
matter. And the one guy, I didn't highlight this yesterday, but I think somebody asked, the one dude's African-American, right? Yeah. He goes, you know what? The first black person, I'm in space. I'm an astronaut. I'm an American.
Right.
That's what he said.
Right.
So focus on the important stuff. Sue, have a great weekend.
You too.
traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Still a jam on southbound 55. We've got only the left lane getting by a former car fire. And that was just south of Loughborough. Now, the fire itself is out, but since we're down to one lane, it's a jam behind it. Westbound 70 looks good. Westbound 6440 looks good. Westbound 44 is in good shape. And if you're headed into Illinois, things look fine there as well. Have a great holiday weekend. Happy Easter. I'm Sue Thomas. That's traffic. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
It's time for a $98 AC tune-up.